Chapter 2291. The Master God had always been instilled with a strong ideal by his father. If you want something and can't get it, then forcefully take it. The Master God had never cared about women. However, all of this changed after he met Bailey Yen. He wanted her. Who knew that after Bailey Yen knew his feelings for her, she would avoid him again and again. Before the Bailey family's master's 10,000th birthday celebration, Bailey Yen had avoided the Master God more than once. As the saying goes, things should not be done more than 3 times. After the Master God confessed to her, Bailey Yen had avoided him at least 10 times. This time the Master God was furious. Moreover, the Master God was the supreme God of the God's continent. His father had instilled in him a philosophy since he was young. If you want something and can't get it, then just take it. Therefore, on this quiet night with charming moonlight on the rockery in the Bailey family's back garden, the Master God forcefully took Bailey Yen. The Bailey family's master was drinking and making merry in the Bailey family's hall. It was only until he got to know all the gods who came to celebrate his 10,000th birthday that he realized that his most beloved daughter, Bailey Yen, was missing. Have you found her? The Bailey family's master saw his subordinates walking over. He frowned and asked anxiously. At this moment, the banquet had reached its end. The subordinates of the Bailey family shook their heads when they heard the Bailey family's master's words. Your subordinates searched the surroundings but couldn't find the young lady. Why is this Yen so disobedient? She ran out to play on such an important occasion. The Bailey family's master said with a hint of anger after hearing his subordinates' words. However, if one was familiar with the Bailey family's patriarch, they would be able to tell that even though the Bailey family's patriarch's tone was filled with dissatisfaction, his words were filled with endless doting towards his daughter, Bailey Yen. The Bailey family's master loved his youngest daughter Bailey Yen the most. Everyone in the God's continent knew this. Although the Bailey family was not one of the top 10 heaven-defying families in the God's continent, the Bailey family was a special case in the God's continent. Although the Bailey family was not ranked in the top 10 heaven-defying families, the Bailey family's power was equivalent to the top 3 of the top 10 heaven-defying families. During this banquet, there were many people who came to the Bailey clan to congratulate the Bailey clan leader. Therefore, after clan head Bailey finished his angry words, a middle-aged man with the same appearance as clan head Bailey walked over and replied. Patriarch Bailey, your daughter, Bailey Yen, is not only beautiful but also extremely intelligent. Therefore, you don't have to worry about your daughter in this regard. The little girl has grown up. It's normal that she doesn't like this kind of occasion. Patriarch Bailey, don't treat your daughter like a child. Also, I saw your daughter leave just now. Lord Overgod also walked in the same direction as your daughter. I'm sure Lord Overgod doesn't like such a lively place. Haha, since the Lord Overlord is going in the same direction as your daughter, then even if your daughter encounters any trouble, the Lord Overlord will be there to support her. You don't have to worry about it. This person was obviously here to curry favor with Patriarch Bailey. However, when he heard this person say that he saw the Lord Overlord and his daughter leaving in the same direction, Patriarch Bailey really relaxed and heaved a sigh of relief. The Lord Overlord was the ruler of the God's continent. He would protect every god on the God's continent. Therefore, when he heard that the Lord Overlord was going in the same direction as his daughter, Patriarch Bailey also relaxed. Even if something happened to Bailey Yen as the ruler of the God's continent, the Lord Overlord would definitely not just stand by and watch. Therefore, Patriarch Bailey continued to entertain his guests. At this moment, he would never have dreamed that the Lord Overlord, whom he thought would protect his daughter even if something happened, was the source of the mishap of his beloved daughter. Bailey clan back garden rockery. The Lord Overlord pressed Bailey Yen here and took her by force. The surroundings quieted down. A certain part of her body felt as if it had been ruthlessly torn apart. At this moment, everything was finally quiet. A line of tears flowed from the corner of Bailey Yen's eyes. She waited for the Lord Overlord to leave her body. Then, her entire body slid to the ground like a puppet. The Lord Overlord did not let Bailey Yen slide to the ground. He hugged Bailey Yen and said solemnly to Bailey Yen, I'll propose marriage to your father tomorrow and marry you immediately. He was not the kind of person who only wanted Bailey Yen's body. He liked her. That was why he did such a thing. The Lord Overlord did not know that pursuing the girl he liked had to be done slowly. The philosophy instilled in his bones by his father was that if he wanted to obtain, he had to forcefully possess her. Bailey Yen was in the Lord Overlord's embrace. She struggled angrily out of the Lord Overlord's embrace. Then she reached out and slapped the Lord Overlord's handsome face. She grabbed half of her body that was covered by her clothes and said angrily to the Lord Overlord, I won't marry you. I won't forgive you even if I die. You beast. Bailey Yan's slap stunned the Lord Overlord. Obviously, since the Lord Overlord was born, no one dared to treat him like this. However, Bailey Yan's slap did not anger the Lord Overlord. In the end, Bailey Yan covered half of her body with her clothes and ran away. 2 months later. Since then, the Lord Overlord had not appeared in front of her for 2 months. Bailey Yan did not dare to tell her father about that matter. Therefore, she acted as if nothing had happened. However, Bailey Yan was clearly unhappy these few days. She was still brooding over the fact that her virginity had been taken away. At the dining table, the Bailey family's head saw that Bailey Yan's complexion was not good. He asked, "Yin Yin, did you eat something bad recently? Why do you look so pale?" Bailey Yin shook her head. "Father, I'm fine." "That's right. Our Yin Yin is fine. What do you mean by pale complexion? Come, Yin Yin, eat some meat," Bailey Yan's mother said. She picked up a piece of meat for Bailey Yan and brought it to her mouth. Please remember the domain name of this book. Mobile version of reading website. Chapter 2292. Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation, page 1/1. When Bailey Yan smelled the piece of braised pork that her mother had passed to her nose, she felt as if her nose had smelled some kind of very stimulating food. That feeling was as if he had smelled some kind of irritating object. This smell passed through her respiratory tract and directly reacted to her stomach. Then, the uncomfortable feeling in her stomach was transmitted to her brain. Therefore, Bailey Yan could not help but turn around and retch. That feeling was as if she could vomit everything that she had just eaten. It was extremely uncomfortable. Bailey Yan only returned to normal after the uncomfortable feeling of vomiting passed. She did not think too much about it. She just turned around and picked up her chopsticks, wanting to continue eating. After picking up her chopsticks, Bailey Yan first pushed back the piece of red braised meat that her mother had given her. Then she said, "Mother, I don't want to eat meat. Recently, I feel like vomiting whenever I eat meat." Bailey Yan did not feel that she had suddenly become unable to eat meat recently. She just returned the piece of meat in her bowl to her mother who had just given it to her. She still lowered her head slightly and looked unhappy. Bailey Yan was obviously very concerned about her innocence being taken away by the Lord. However, she did not dare to tell her parents about this. Bailey Yan hid all her grief in the bottom of her heart. After saying this, Bailey Yan picked up her chopsticks and continued eating as if nothing had happened. She did not feel that there was anything wrong with it. However, after taking 2 mouthfuls of food, Bailey Yan felt that everyone's eyes seemed to be gathered on her. She raised her head and looked around. She saw that the people sitting around her were all looking at her with a stunned expression. "Father, Mother, what's wrong?" Bailey Yan chewed a mouthful of vegetables and pretended as if nothing had happened just now. She asked her parents a question. "Yin Yin, what's wrong with you? Red braised meat is your favorite. Why did you vomit just now? And the way you vomited was the same as when I was pregnant with you? Yin, don't tell me you're having morning sickness?" At the end, Bailey Yan's mother widened her eyes. Obviously, even Bailey Yan's mother did not believe this statement. Her daughter was innocent. How could she be pregnant? Without waiting for Patriarch Bailey to express his opinion, Bailey Yan seemed to have suffered a violent blow after hearing her mother's words. She was so frightened that her hand touched the bowl and chopsticks on the table in a panic. In her panic, she accidentally knocked over the bowl and chopsticks. "Mother, how could I? Mother, father, brother, sister, I'm not feeling well. I'll go back first." Bailey Yan blinked her eyes as she looked to the side. She found a reason in a panic and found a reason as she fled. "Little sister, are you frightened by Mother?" "Ah, Mother, don't scare little sister. Little sister is a pure and innocent girl. How could she get pregnant just like that?" Bailey Yan's mother when she Bailey Yan, Bailey Yan, Bailey when Bailey Yan, Bailey Yan, Bailey, Bailey translation how translation That, translation Bailey, that translation. Bailey Yan, translation? Bailey that. Hearing this, the matter, everyone. If they did not mention this matter, she would have completely forgotten that she had not had her period for 2 months. Ever since that time, her period had never come again. Could it be that she was really pregnant? The young Bailey Yan was still very tender. She was so scared that she hugged her body and slowly slid to the ground. What should she do? Bailey Yan didn't see it. After she ran into the house in a panic, a tall and handsome man was walking towards her boudoir right after she entered the house. Translator. Atlas Studios Editor. Atlas Studios. Chapter 2293. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation, page 1/1. In the past 2 months, the Lord did not appear before Bailey Yen. But that did not mean that the Lord did not secretly visit Bailey Yen. Ever since that day, the Lord felt Bailey Yen's deep hatred for him. That hateful gaze made the Lord's heart clench in pain. At this moment, Bailey Yen was hugging her knees as she slowly slid to the ground. Outside the house, the Lord had already walked to the door of Bailey Yen's room. He raised his hand gently, wanting to push the door open. But in the end, he retracted his hand and turned to leave. That handsome figure gave off an endless feeling of desolation. For the first time in his life, the Lord felt regret. His father taught him that if he took a fancy to something, if he could not get it, he should just take it. Was that right or wrong? Bailey Yen did not know that the Lord had come. She hugged her knees and sat on the cold ground for at least 2 hours. 2 hours later, Bailey Yen walked to her dressing table in a daze. She raised the scissors on the dressing table and pressed it against her belly. She did not want this child. She was still so young, how could she? But the moment Bailey Yen mustered up the courage to stab the scissors, she suddenly thought of her little brother who had just turned 2 years old. He was so cute with his pink little mouth. He would even open and close his mouth and shout at her with unclear words. Jiejia? Jiejia? Smack smack. He was so small and so cute. He could not even call out the word sister clearly and called it Jiejia. Would the child in her belly be as cute as her little brother? Bailey Yen fell into a panic. In the end, after some struggle, Bailey Yen decided to abort the child. She did not like the Lord. At least she did not feel that way now. Moreover, he had forced her. Bailey Yen was a very strong-willed person. She was also very stubborn. The more the Lord forced her, the more she wanted to go against him. She would definitely not give birth to his child. Hence, Bailey Yen began to plan how to abort the child. Time passed quickly. In the blink of an eye, another 3 months had passed. Bailey Yen felt that her belly was slightly protruding. The God's continent was not like Earth, where one could buy medicine to abort a pregnancy. There was no abortion medicine here. In other words, in the God's continent, once a woman became pregnant, she would give birth to the child under normal circumstances. No woman would think of aborting the child. There was no hospital here to perform an abortion. Bailey Yen was just a little girl in the past. Because she had never come into contact with these things, she thought that it was a very simple thing to abort a child. But she was wrong. In the God's continent, once a woman became pregnant, she would have to give birth to the child. Unless she used a knife to stab the child in her stomach to death. There are some things that you don't understand because you haven't come into contact with them. However, when you encounter trouble and have no choice but to learn about it, you will realize that you are not the only one who has encountered such trouble. There are many people in this world who have encountered the same trouble as you. Take Bailey Yen for example. She heard that there was a mountain in the deity's continent. There was a kind of herb in the mountain that was specially used for abortion. Therefore, Bailey Yen went to the mountain that day. Unfortunately, Bailey Yen couldn't find the herbs even after searching the entire mountain. She sat on the edge of the cliff while clutching her stomach. The thoughts in her heart drifted far away. For a moment, she had the urge to jump down from the cliff or stab the child in her stomach that should not have been born. Translator. Atlas Studios Editor. Atlas Studios. Chapter 2294. Bailey Yen's life was very happy. Her parents and siblings treated her very well. The outside world also knew that Bailey Yen was a very obedient little beauty. Bailey Yen didn't dare to imagine how the outside world would view her if her pregnancy was exposed. Bailey Yen, who had created an obedient image since she was young, couldn't believe it. The feeling of falling into hell after being praised to heaven. Bailey Yen shook her head in panic. Just as she was about to stand up, she didn't know that she stepped on air, and her entire body fell down the cliff. The bottom of this cliff was the God-destroying rock. Even if a god fell down, he would definitely die. Bailey Yen was so scared that her face turned pale. However, the moment she wanted to use her spiritual power to save herself, she suddenly stopped. In the eyes of the world, people who were extremely outstanding since birth could not accept a stain in their lives. Some people would rather die than be accused of indecent behavior one day after they had lived a life of glory. For example, Bailey Yen. Bailey Yen wanted to give up struggling. She might as well fall into this bottomless abyss and fall into the God-destroying rock. If she died, everything would be over. Bailey Yen was a very strong-willed woman. She couldn't accept being raped and still acting as if nothing had happened. Closing her eyes, Bailey Yen was about to fall off the cliff. However, before Bailey Yen could fall off the cliff, a slender hand grabbed her. For a long time, Bailey Yin didn't feel the feeling of falling off a cliff. When she opened her eyes, she saw an angry, handsome face staring at her. The owner of this handsome face stared at her for 2 seconds and said angrily, "The God-destroying rock is at the bottom of the cliff. Do you want to die?" The person who came was none other than the Lord. Since the last time he forced Bailey Yin, this was the first time the Lord appeared in front of Bailey Yin. However, for the past 4 months, the Lord went to the Bailey family almost every day to see Bailey Yin. The day also fell. He just didn't dare to appear in front of Bailey Yin. He was afraid that Bailey Yin would be emotional if she saw him. Today, when Bailey Yin left the Bailey family and came to this mountain, the Lord followed behind Bailey Yin. He saw that she seemed to be looking for something, so he followed her all the way. Thinking that the God-destroying rock was at the bottom of this mountain, he wanted to follow her and protect her. However, the Lord never thought that Bailey Yin actually wanted to end her life. She actually dared. When he thought of how Bailey Yin had closed her eyes and planned to directly fall off the cliff into the God-slaying rock and lose her life, the Master God's heart tightened. He was so scared that his face suddenly turned pale. He tightly grabbed Bailey Yin's hand and roared those words. Seeing the sudden appearance of the Lord God, Bailey Yin was so frightened that she reflexively wanted to take a step back. He even forgot that there was a cliff behind him and that the God-destroying rock was at the bottom of the cliff. Seeing this, the chief god flew into a rage. "You stupid woman, do you want to die so badly? Good. Do you want to die? Since you want to die, you might as well be the woman beneath me. Anyway, it wasn't the first time. Get some benefits for your Bailey clan and serve me well before you die." These words were definitely uttered by the sovereign in a fit of anger. Bailey Yin was frightened by the Master God's appearance. However, before Bailey Yin could react, the Lord God had already grabbed her hand and brought her to the temple in a flash. After bringing Bailey Yin back to the bedroom in the temple, the Lord God threw Bailey Yin onto the bed and quickly stripped off her clothes. However, the moment the Lord God was about to enter Bailey Yin, his gaze fell on Bailey Yin's originally slender, but now slightly arched lower abdomen. Please remember the domain name of this book. .com. Wonderful book mobile version reading website. .com. Chapter 2295. Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. When the Master God saw Bailey Yin's obviously protruding belly, he stopped his actions of forcing Bailey Yin. Bailey Yin was also stunned. She did not expect that the Lord God would bring her back to the temple and strip her of her clothes to force himself on her. However, Bailey Yin only reacted when she was stripped of her clothes. At this moment she was not wearing anything. Not only that, it had been 5 months since the Lord God forced himself on her. During these 5 months, Bailey Yin had been hesitating whether she should kill the child in her belly. However, she could not bring herself to do it. After 5 months, her belly grew bigger. Bailey Yin was more and more afraid that her pregnancy would be discovered. Hence, she wore thicker and thicker clothes. Even on hot days, Bailey Yin would wear thick cotton-padded jackets. However, if this continued, she would not be able to hide her protruding belly at 6 or 7 months. Hence, Bailey Yin was anxious. Today, she heard that there was a kind of herb used for abortion in the nearby mountains. Bailey Yin quickly went to pick it. However, she did not expect to meet the Lord God. He even got angry for no reason and brought her to the temple. He wanted to do the same thing to her 5 months ago. Of course, all of this was not the main point. The main point was that she was pregnant. 5 months pregnant, her belly would not be obvious if she wore thick clothes. However, the Lord God had stripped her of all her clothes in a fit of anger just now. In this way, her protruding belly was completely exposed before his eyes. While the Lord God was in a daze, Bailey Yin hurriedly lifted up the corner of the blanket to cover her stomach and her private parts. She glanced to the side and very uncomfortably reached out to pick up the pile of clothes that the Lord God had taken off. However, before she could pick up the pile of clothes that the Lord God had taken off, Bailey Yin's slender wrist was grabbed by the Lord God. At the same time, the Lord God's magnetic male voice suddenly sounded. There was a hint of wild joy in his words. "You're pregnant." Although the Lord God didn't have any experience, he wasn't stupid. Bailey Yin's protruding belly was different from being fat. That round, ball-like protruding belly was a sign of pregnancy. Seeing the overjoyed look on the Lord God's face, Bailey Yin was so scared that her face suddenly changed. She covered her stomach, lowered her head and rolled her eyes. She couldn't help but defend herself. "No. I've been eating a lot lately, so I've gotten fatter." "What? Can't I get fat?" Bailey Yin's tone was very unfriendly. After saying this, Bailey Yin pushed the Lord God away. Then she put on her clothes and ran out of the house. She absolutely could not let him find out that she was pregnant. She would definitely secretly abort the child in her belly. However, before Bailey Yen could run out of the Lord God's bedroom, the Lord God grabbed her wrist and pressed her against the door. Not pregnant? Then why did you go up the mountain? Are you looking for herbs that can remove my child? The Lord God was both surprised and angry. He was angry that she had kept her pregnancy a secret for 5 months and didn't even tell him. He was surprised that he was going to be a father. Bailey Yen, whose thoughts were exposed, stubbornly wanted to pull her hand back from the Lord God's hand. However, she realized that there was nothing she could do. Bailey Yen looked at the Lord God with a hateful gaze, then said angrily, Yes, that's right. I'm pregnant, but it's not your child. What? Do you really think that I can't have you? I found another man to give birth to this child. Bailey Yen had just said this when her mouth was blocked. The Lord God angrily blocked Bailey Yen's red lips and kissed her for a while. When he let go of Bailey Yen couldn't even breathe. The Lord God obviously didn't want to let Bailey Yen go. He angrily pushed Bailey Yen to the edge of the bed and pressed down on her. You found another man after doing it with me? Fine, then I'll personally examine your body and see if you found another man. Translator, Atlas Studios Editor, Atlas Studios. Chapter 2296. Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation, page 1/1. Bailey Yen was eaten by the main god again. However, this time, the main god was careful as if he was afraid of hurting the child in Bailey Yen's womb. Although Bailey Yen did not like how the main god treated her, it was different from the first time. She was indeed moved by the main god's gentle treatment. However, Bailey Yen was a very stubborn person. In Bailey Yen's opinion, he had forced her. Even if the second time really made her feel good, Bailey Yen just couldn't forget what the Lord God had done to her back then. He had raped her. Not long after, Bailey Yen's pregnancy was discovered by the Bailey family. The main god also came to ask for Bailey Yen's hand in marriage. He stood up fearlessly and directly admitted that the child in Bailey Yen's womb was his. He was the one who had forced Bailey Yen to have sex with him. Since then, the Bailey family did not dare to say anything to the main god. After all, the main god was the ruler of the gods' continent at this time. They could only agree to marry Bailey Yen to the main god. After Bailey Yen married the main god, she gave birth to a child. The child was named the Divine Lord. However, ever since Bailey Yen married the main god, she was unhappy. After the child was born, Bailey Yen did not fulfill her duty as a mother. Every time the main god had sex with her, Bailey Yen did not make a fuss. She allowed the main god to do whatever he wanted. She lived like a puppet. In the end, she did not even have any emotions. In the end, the main god had no choice but to let Bailey Yen return to the Bailey family. He would occasionally send someone to bring the Divine Lord to the Bailey family to see his mother. The main god would secretly go to the Bailey family to see Bailey Yen. After that, he never appeared in front of Bailey Yen again. For the next few thousand years, the two of them were stubborn and never met face to face again. Later on, the main god was injured by a mysterious person. The temple was destroyed, and the main god was brought to the Bailey family by Ce. Of course, before that, when the main god let Bailey Yen return to the Bailey family, he changed his appearance to that of an old man in his 50s or 60s. He never changed back. Without Bailey Yen's company, he had already planned to live the rest of his life with the appearance of an old man. However, he didn't expect that after being injured he would regain his original handsome looks and look 80% like Ce. This memory was something that happened tens of thousands of years ago. At this moment, his soul returned to reality. Now, tens of thousands of years had passed. Bailey Yen, who had been stubborn and arrogant back then, no longer hated the Lord God for forcing her. But Bailey Yen just couldn't bring herself to accept his goodwill. Bailey Yen's waist was about to break after being pulled by the Lord God. She held her waist and neatly buttoned up the clothes on her body. Then she was about to walk out. Before she could leave, the sovereign pulled her back. Yen, sleep a little longer. Sleep? Sleep on your own if you want to sleep. Get out of the Bailey family for me. After saying that, Bailey Yen flung away the Master God's hand and strode forward to drag the Master God out of bed. However, Bailey Yen's words, which were supposed to be insults, didn't sound like a curse when they came out of her mouth. Her voice was soft and weak, but in the Master God's ears, it sounded like she was acting coquettishly. It was very comfortable. The Master God grabbed Bailey Yen's hand and was about to do something unsuitable for children with Bailey Yen again. The voice of the Bailey family's subordinate came from outside the door. Miss, the Lord God is here. Hearing this, Bailey Yin pushed the Master God away. My son is back. Get out of my way, you old fart. Although these words were very fierce when they came out of Bailey Yan's mouth, it gave people a feeling of tenderness as if she was flirting. That's my son too. The Master God chuckled and got out of bed. The subordinate who reported the Lord God's arrival waited at the door for a while before seeing Bailey Yin walk out. The subordinate was just about to turn around when he saw the Master God, who looked 80% like CE, walk out of Bailey Yan's room. When he saw the Master God, the subordinate was stunned. The subordinate even rubbed his eyes to make sure that he wasn't seeing things. This person was really the Master God. Everyone on the God's continent knew about the grudge between the Master God and Bailey Yin. But what was going on today? Did the sun rise from the west? The Master God and Bailey Yin walked out of the same room? Did they make up? Translator, Atlas Studios Editor, Atlas Studios. Chapter 2297. Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor, Endless Fantasy Translation Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor, Endless Fantasy Translation Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor, Endless Fantasy Translation. The subordinate of the Bailey family was dumbfounded and took a long time to react. In the end, the subordinate turned around and chased after Bailey Yin and the overgod towards the main hall of the Bailey family. CE was standing in the middle of the main hall of the Bailey family. Seeing Bailey Yin and the overgod walking over, CE did not waste any time and immediately said to Bailey Yin, "Mother, why are you in such a hurry to get me back? Did something big happen in the deity continent?" Hearing CE's words, Bailey Yan's eyes moved and she shook her head. Nothing big happened in the deity continent, but something big is about to happen on Earth. Why do you say that? CE frowned. Hey, let me tell you. Are you going to a place called the Death Island? The overgod snatched the right to speak from Bailey Yin and said to CE. Hearing this, CE's eyes darkened. Yes. Don't go to that damn place. That place is part of the mysterious person's plan. He wants you and the sorcerer goddess to enter the deity continent from the Death Island and trap you there. You should know that the biggest obstacle for the mysterious person now is you. His next goal is to turn everyone on Earth into his slaves. After trapping you, he will be able to attack Earth without hesitation. The overgod said solemnly. His words did not seem to be a joke. Hearing the overgod's words, CE frowned. Father, how did you know all of this? Brat, don't ask me how I know. I just know. Moreover, the mysterious person will not be able to go to Earth for a while. But I know that in the near future he will forcibly open a passage from the deity continent to Earth in a place called Puluo City in Z country. This way there will be 3 passages from the deity continent to Earth. However, for the time being, I don't know the exact location of the passageway in Puluo City in the eastern province of Z country. What I do know is that the mysterious man will send his subordinates to Puluo City. So, after you and Sorcerer Goddess return to Z country, you must go there and investigate the location where the mysterious man opened the passage. You should be able to find the real hiding place of the mysterious man. The Master God's words reached CE's ears. Upon hearing this, CE's eyes flashed. In the next moment, he didn't listen to the overgod and turned to leave the Bailey family. Aya, you stinking brat, wait for me. This old man hasn't finished speaking yet. Seeing this, the Master God stood behind CE and shouted. He wanted to chase after her but was stopped by Bailey Yin. The Lord God's current appearance was only in his early 20s. The way he referred to himself as an old man was truly shocking. So stop fooling around in front of me, you old geezer. Go back to your temple. Bailey Yin glanced at the Lord God and walked back to her house. Don't. Yin, my temple hasn't been repaired yet, has it? Now the temple has become a ruin. If you don't take me in, I'll have nothing to eat. After saying that, the Master God chuckled and shamelessly walked towards Bailey Yin. Death Island. Yun Jian had been here for almost 3 days. 3 days had passed and CE still hadn't come. Everything on Death Island made Yun Jian feel that something was wrong, but Yun Jian didn't say anything. Horace, Calvin, Ella, Felix and the others didn't notice anything wrong. They stayed on Death Island in a rather luxurious villa built by Bogey. Bogey and the others were afraid of Yun Jian, so they gave their villa to Yun Jian, Horace and the others. That night at 1:30 a.m., Yun Jian's eyes that were closed to rest abruptly opened. In the next second, she got up and went to the other rooms in the villa to wake up Horace, Calvin and the others. What's wrong with Yun Jian? It's the middle of the night. Calvin and the others couldn't understand. However, after they finished speaking, they saw Yun Jian put her hand to her lips and made a soft shh sound. Then she said, Something's wrong with Death Island. We must leave immediately. Translator, Atlas Studios. Editor, Atlas Studios. Chapter 2298. Something's wrong? What's wrong with him again? It's the middle of the night. Yunjian, don't scare me. I'm scared. After hearing Yunjian's words, Alice suddenly felt a chill run down her spine. She was so scared that her expression changed slightly. Aren't you doing fine? You're so powerful that even the most powerful person on Death Island, Boki, listens to you. Moreover, he's so scared that he's willing to let us stay in his mansion. What could possibly happen? Yunjian, don't be so paranoid. You should wash up and go to bed. We've stayed here for 3 days and nothing has happened. Waking us up in the middle of the night to tell us this, it's quite scary. Felix stretched out his hand and yawned as he spoke. While speaking, Felix still had a sleepy look on his face. Felix, who was in his early 20s, was a very lazy young man. Only Calvin and Horace's eyes moved when they heard Yunjian's words. The two of them agreed with Yunjian's words. Let's leave Death Island immediately. Seeing that Calvin and Horace were no longer calm, Ella, who was also a girl in her early 20s, also became somewhat uneasy. It should be fine. Ayla comforted herself. Speaking up to this point, Ayla suddenly felt her heart tighten and tremble. Because from the conversation between Yunjian and Boki, although they did not understand what Yunjian and Boki were saying, Calvin, Horace, and the others were not stupid. Naturally, from the conversation between Yunjian and Boki, they could tell that this place called Death Island seemed to lead to another world. If that was the case then, thinking of this, fear flashed through everyone's eyes. Even their hearts could not help but tremble. While Felix, Ella, and the others were talking, Yunjian had already equipped herself with weapons. She did not explain anything. Instead, she lightly waved her hand and said, "Follow me closely." With that, she led the way out of the mansion. They went round the back of the house, without passing the field of tents where Bogi and the others were camped. Yunjian led Calvin and the others to board the yacht that they came from. After that, the yacht sailed along the sea and quickly returned to where it came from. When they left, they did not disturb Berkey and the others on Death Island. Obviously, if they followed Yunjian, it would be difficult for Calvin and the others to alert anyone. After a whole day of sailing, they finally left Death Island at 8 o'clock in the evening the next day and returned to the pier in Country S. Seeing the pier that they had come from in Country S, everyone could not help but heave a sigh of relief. However, when he thought about it carefully, he did not notice anything before. Yunjian wanted everyone to leave Death Island with her. What was going on? Thinking of this, Felix said, "Actually, nothing happened. Yunjian, why do you want us to leave Death Island?" There was no response to Fei Lei's words. After docking the yacht, everyone boarded the pier. Not long after, there was a sound. Not long after, the group of 500 adventurers who were suppressed by Yunjian appeared at the pier. It turned out that they did not leave. The ones leading them were Jiawei, Eva, and the others. Jiawei had gathered these 500 adventurers last time. After one of the adventurers was killed by Yunjian, although he was afraid, he was unwilling to see Yunjian and the others board the yacht to Death Island. As a matter of fact, Jiawei did not leave. He led these 500 adventurers to guard here. When they saw the yacht coming back from afar, they all swarmed over. They would not have known if they did not look. However, when they looked, it was really Yunjian and the others. Therefore, when they saw Yunjian and the others, Jiawei asked directly, "Did you come back from Death Island?" After that, afraid that Yunjian would kill them like how she killed the adventurer, Jiawei said, "Don't misunderstand. We are not here to find trouble with you. We just want to know about Death Island." Yunjian ignored Jiawei and the others' goodwill. Not long after, Yunjian led Calvin and the others to a hotel near the pier in Country S. Jiawei and the others wanted to know about Yunjian and the others going to Death Island. Therefore, they all stayed in the same hotel as Yunjian and the others, or in another hotel. At night, Yunjian, Calvin, and the others were eating at the dining table. She frowned slightly, feeling that something bad was going to happen. Death Island was not that simple. However, just as Yunjian was thinking about it, she habitually picked up a chicken drumstick and stuffed it into her mouth. Yunjian suddenly felt nauseous. She spat out the chicken drumstick and turned her head to the side to retch. Please remember the domain name of this book, .com. Wonderful Book Mobile Version Website, .com. Chapter 2299. Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation, page 1/1. Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. Yunjian leaned to the side and retched twice before pressing her throbbing head. "Yunjian, what's wrong with you?" Seeing Yunjian suddenly retching, Calvin hurriedly asked Yun Jian in a caring tone. I must have eaten something bad, it's nothing. Yun Jian turned around and lightly pursed her red lips before replying. Yun Jian did not think about this at this moment, her thoughts drifted far away. On the island of death she felt a very unusual aura. It was the aura of a conspiracy. Although Yun Jian did not sense any danger before this, she always trusted her intuition. Hence, she led Calvin and the rest to leave the island of death overnight. However, Yun Jian felt that things were not that simple. Then you have to take good care of your body. For us girls, health is the most important thing. Everything else is bullshit. Come, when you're not feeling well, eat more nutritious vegetables. Eat more. After hearing Yun Jian's words, Ella took the chopsticks in Yun Jian's hand in a friendly manner and used the chopsticks to pick up some simple vegetables on the table and place them into Yun Jian's bowl. Vegetables, radishes, cabbage, they were all boiled with a little oil and were cooked very lightly. It was the traditional taste of S country's cuisine. Yun Jian did not feel that there was anything wrong with Ella's sudden friendliness. She nodded and ate some bland food. She probably caught a cold. The group had dinner in this restaurant and returned to the hotel. When the group returned to their rooms to sleep, Yun Jian stopped them and reminded them in an extremely soft voice, "Don't worry. Don't sleep too deeply tonight." She did not say anything else. Due to Yun Jian's previous ability, Calvin and the rest did not say anything and only nodded in response. Nightfall. The wind was chilly. Night in S country. After all, it was winter and the weather was very cold. Kacha. Yun Jian slept in the room with her eyes closed. She felt that the window had been pried open with tools for half an hour before it was finally opened. Yun Jian had already felt the noise from the moment the window lock was pried open with a tool. The funny thing was that the person outside thought that he hadn't been discovered and took half an hour to open the window. With a kacha sound, the window lock was finally pried open. The window was also opened slightly. A small smoke-hole-like object was stuffed in. Not long after, dense smoke floated out of this small smoke-hole-like thing. Yun Jian could tell that the smoke coming out of the cigarette hole was knockout powder. This kind of knockout drug could make people fall into a deep sleep at least for a short period of time. This drug was very effective on ordinary people, but it didn't have any effect on her. He had been picking the window lock for half an hour and had even tried to knock her out with this kind of low-level drug. Yun Jian's lips curled up coldly. The next second, she smoothed her lips and closed her eyes, pretending to be asleep. When there was no more noise in the room, the smoke-hole-like object was removed. After the smoke in the room dissipated, two people came in through the window. Is she asleep? She must be asleep. The composition of my knockout powder is enough to knock out a cow. Let's not waste any more time. Let's hurry up and find the item. Once we find it, let's leave immediately. Two sparse voices were heard. These two faint voices belonged to a man and a woman. Even if Yun Jian didn't open her eyes, she could tell that the voices belonged to none other than Jia Wei and Eva. Jia Wei and Eva had never been to Death Island. After Yun Jian and the rest returned, they refused to tell them what had happened on Death Island. Hence, they came up with the idea of stealing Yun Jian's sky blue necklace. Found it? It's here. Then let's hurry up and leave. It'll be bad if she wakes up. After searching for about 10 minutes, Jia Wei and Eva finally found the sky blue necklace. The two of them happily walked out of the window, intending to leave Yun Jian's room through the window. However, just as the two of them were about to walk to the window, 3 throwing knives suddenly flew past Jia Wei and Eva's left, top, and right sides. The 3 throwing knives hit the wall by the window that Jia Wei and Eva were about to leave, piercing straight into the snow-white wall. This sudden change caused Jay and Eva's hearts to tighten. Just as the two of them were in a state of panic, the voice of the young girl, who they thought had already fainted, rang out from behind them. Her words actually carried a trace of hair-raising meaning. Since the two of you are here, why don't you stay for a while before leaving? Translator, Henyi Translations Editor, Henyi Translations. Chapter 2300. Page 1/1. Yun Jian's voice suddenly sounded from behind Jia Wei and Eva. Just now, Jia Wei and Eva were sure that Yun Jian had been drugged, and had searched for 10 minutes before they found the sky blue necklace. From start to finish, Yun Jian did not move at all. That quiet look, if she was not really drugged, how could she be faking it? Hence, Jia Wei and Eva did not suspect that Yun Jian was pretending to be asleep. However, when Jia Wei and Eva took the sky blue necklace and were about to walk out of the window, Yun Jian's voice sounded like a ghost. When the voice sounded, Jia Wei and Eva were shocked, and their faces turned purple. Yun Jian, you were not drugged. Jia Wei turned around and saw that under the moonlight, Yun Jian had already come out from the bed to stand behind them. She did not make a single sound and was like a ghost. Jia Wei widened his eyes at the sight and stared at Yun Jian in disbelief for a few seconds, his face draining of color from the shock. Why would I be drugged? At this time, Yun Jian was holding a butterfly knife in her hand. She twirled the butterfly knife in her hand, and the way she twirled it was fast and skillful. There was no light in the house, so Yun Jian's face could only be seen clearly through the moonlight that shone into the house from outside. At this moment, Yun Jian held the butterfly knife in her hand and looked like a death god. In this dark night, she was like an emissary from hell, causing Jia Wei and Eva to shiver. Yun Jian, I'm sorry, I didn't do it on purpose. I just wanted to take this sky blue necklace, that's all. Furthermore, this sky blue necklace is useless to you. You guys have already been to the Death Island and refused to tell us what's there. Why can't you give us the necklace and let us go there? When Jia Wei saw Yun Jian holding the butterfly knife, he panicked. He then blinked and gripped the sky blue necklace tightly, as though he would rather die than return it to Yun Jian. She's here. Just as Jia Wei was protecting the necklace and did not intend to return it to Yun Jian's indifferent voice sounded. What? When Jia Wei and Eva heard Yun Jian's words, they were stunned, and did not understand what Yun Jian meant. Yun Jian narrowed her eyes and suddenly charged towards Jia Wei and Eva with the butterfly knife. The room was only so small, Jia Wei and Eva were standing 3 meters away from Yun Jian. When they saw Yun Jian charging towards them, they saw the butterfly knife in Yun Jian's hand, and recalled the scene of Yun Jian killing people at the pier. Jia Wei was so frightened that he crouched down, holding his head, and cried out, I was wrong. I was wrong. I'll return the necklace to you. I'll return it to you. But just as Jia Wei was kneeling down and apologizing, and Eva was trembling in fear, Yun Jian leaped over Jia Wei and Eva and jumped out of the window. Before Jia Wei could hold his head, he saw this scene. His eyes moved slightly, and in the next second, his face turned pale with fright. This is the 5th floor. Yun Jian jumped out of the room, and that's like jumping 5 floors. Jumping from 5 floors to flat ground, it would be strange if a normal person did not die. Is Yun Jian courting death? Jia Wei and Eva were so frightened that they turned to look out the window. Their faces turned pale and they looked like they could not turn back for a long time. But when they turned to look out the window, they thought they would see Yun Jian jump down 5 floors, and even if she did not die, she would be crippled. Jia Wei and Eva's eyes widened, and they forgot to breathe. All the cells in their bodies were frozen by Yun Jian's next move. They were so frightened that their jaws dropped to the ground, and their eyes bulged out of their sockets. Translator, Atlas Studios Editor, Atlas Studios. Chapter 2301. Yun Jian, who had jumped out of the window, landed at a height of about 15 to 16 meters. Her slender body shone brightly under the moonlight. Her petite body landed on the ground at the speed of light and lightning from a height of almost 5 stories. It was as if an ordinary girl had magic on her, as if she was a character from a legend. After jumping down from the 5th floor, she landed on the ground slowly. This unrealistic scene scared Jane and Eva so much that their faces turned pale. How is this possible? She's not a god. Could it be that Yun Jian is a god? Jane and Eva were so shocked that their eyeballs almost fell out of their sockets. This did not conform to reality. It completely overturned Jane and Eva's thoughts. Then, right after Yun Jian landed on the ground, the snow-white moon in the sky seemed to have been dyed red by blood. The snow-white moon had actually turned into a crimson moon within everyone's sight. What is going on? What is going on? Eva was so scared that she couldn't care less about her image. She grabbed Jane's collar and screamed. Eva's screams attracted Calvin, Horace, Ella, and the others who were staying in the hotel and were warned by Yun Jian not to sleep too deeply. After Calvin and the others came out, they ran downstairs and stood next to Yun Jian. When they saw the strange crimson moon in the sky, Calvin and the others were shocked. It's not like there's a lunar or solar eclipse today. Why did the moon turn red? Calvin stood next to Yun Jian. When he saw this scene, his face darkened. This strange phenomenon horrified Calvin. Yun Jian narrowed her eyes and didn't say anything. The next second, her red arc curled up coldly. Just as Yun Jian's lips curled into a smirk, an unbridled cackle rang. I didn't expect you to see through me and escape from Death Island. But it doesn't matter. Even if this isn't Death Island, Sorcerer God, I can still find you. The next second, a man in a black robe appeared in front of everyone's eyes. Boji, that's Boji. Horace clenched his fist and shouted when he heard the man's voice. Horace would never forget that man's voice for the rest of his life. That man in the black robe was Boji. He was the leader of the group of people on Death Island who killed Horace's good friend 20 years ago. Boji, who was originally terrified of Yun Jian, seemed to have turned into a different person. He looked at Yun Jian from afar and laughed maniacally as he tore his mask off. Everyone around was stunned. What's going on? Didn't Boji already admit defeat to Yun Jian? I've heard of him for a long time. After he betrayed the God's continent 10,000 years ago, he was expelled from the God's continent and was never heard from again. He once killed countless innocent cultivators on the God's continent and was known as the Great Killing Devil. He was ranked in the top 10 on the God's continent strength list. Now that I've seen you today, you're indeed extraordinary. At this moment Yun Jian's voice suddenly rang out. Her words were directed at Boji. When they heard Yun Jian's words, Calvin and the others were stunned. Calvin and the others already knew that there was another continent in this world, but they didn't know what it was like. However, from Yun Jian's words they could tell that this Boji in another world was a big shot who could shock everyone. Although Jia Wei and Eva were confused and didn't know what Yun Jian was referring to, they could tell that Boji, who had suddenly appeared, was definitely not ordinary. After hearing this, Jia Wei and Eva's bodies suddenly trembled. However, just when everyone was shocked by Boji's identity, Boji suddenly sneered at Yun Jian in front of everyone. In spite of it, Yun Jian's identity revealed by Burge struck fear into everyone's heart, making them forget to breathe. No matter how famous I am, I have to admit that I'm far inferior to you. As an immortal cultivator from a low-level continent like the Yulong continent, you have the ability to destroy the world. In the battle between the thousands of continents to determine who was the #1 continent, you, the sorcerer goddess, were merely a woman, but you suppressed all the continents and massacred countless strong cultivators who refused to admit defeat, pushing the Yulong continent to the throne of the #1 continent among the thousands of continents. Sorcerer goddess I Boji would also like to meet someone as powerful as you. Please remember the domain name of this book. Mobile version of reading website. Chapter 2302. Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. 1,000 years ago, on the countless continents in the universe, there was a huge event that shocked the continents. That was when the strong fighters of the thousands of continents stepped forward to fight for the throne of the first continent. The first continent referred to a continent chosen from the thousands of continents in the universe to be the ruler of the thousands of continents. For example, a country had countless provinces, but only one of them was the capital. The capital was the largest area under the jurisdiction of all the provinces. Similarly, the countless provinces could be compared to the thousands of continents in the universe. The capital, the area under the jurisdiction of all the provinces, was the throne of the first continent. The first continent was the central platform that governed all the continents. In layman's terms, the first continent was the capital of a country. Therefore, back then, the experts of the thousands of continents had all stepped forward, wanting to contribute to their own continents and help them ascend to the throne of the #1 continent. However, at that moment, the sorcerer goddess stepped forward. Once the sorcerer goddess stepped forward, she immediately massacred the strong fighters of the thousands of continents who stepped forward to fight for the throne of the first continent. She directly pushed the Yulong continent to the throne of the first continent. If the strong fighters of the thousands of continents dared to disagree, the sorcerer goddess would kill them. During that time, other than the strong fighters of the Yulong continent, the strong fighters of the other continents were all killed by the sorcerer goddess. Those who did not agree, the sorcerer goddess did not hesitate to kill them. She did not have the slightest intention of showing mercy. At that time, this matter shook all the continents and even spread to the ears of the gods continent. Although Calvin, Horace, Ella, Jane, Eva and the rest did not understand the meaning of Boki's words, they could tell from Boki's words how powerful the sorcerer goddess was. Calvin, Horace, Ella, Jane and the rest were completely dumbfounded. And from Boki's words, it seemed like Yun Jian was someone from another world. But from the conversation between Yun Jian and Boki, since the two of them could speak in a tone of mutual admiration, this meant that they did not have any enmity towards each other, right? At this thought, Calvin, Horace, Ella, Jane and the rest heaved a sigh of relief. But just as everyone was thinking this, Burge suddenly snorted and spoke impudently. "Ha, wizard god, what you should be thinking now is whether I, Boji, have joined the mysterious man's side. Then I'll tell you clearly now. Yes, I, Bogi, am now the mysterious man's subordinate. It was also the mysterious man's arrangement that I waited for your arrival on Death Island. I just didn't expect you to discover my purpose and escape. Humph, but it doesn't matter. Even without the help of the Divine Monarch, I still have the 100-fold potion that the mysterious man gave me. My strength can be increased by 100 times from my original foundation. This way, even if you are the sorcerer god, the legendary figure of the myriad continent, you will still be no match for me. As he spoke, he took out a bottle of potion and was about to drink it in front of everyone. Seeing this, everyone's heart trembled. Even Yun Jian narrowed her eyes. Her power was indeed above Boji's. But if Boki had drunk the 100-fold potion, then she might only be able to fight him to a draw at most. Even if they fought to a draw, she would still be seriously injured. However, just as Yun Jian was about to fight with Boki, a slender palm suddenly appeared on Boki's head. After the hand covered Boki's head, it grabbed. Boki's head, which was still laughing wildly, was instantly crushed on the spot. Blood splattered everywhere. Everyone who saw this scene was stunned on the spot. However, just a second before Boki's head was crushed on the spot, everyone heard a furious voice suddenly ring out. In that magnetic and pleasant male voice, there was a coldness that could not be ignored. Did you ask for my permission to touch my woman? Translator, Atlas Studios Editor, Atlas Studios. Chapter 2303. It was a magnetic, mellow male voice that was so pleasant that it sounded like there was no other male voice in the world. It was accompanied by the sound of chi-chi-chi. Everyone saw that after the slender hand covered Boji's head, it crushed Boji's head in front of everyone. It was like crushing a mosquito, and the mosquito's blood gushed out. Boji's head instantly turned into a pool of blood like killing a mosquito. His body was still there, but his head instantly exploded into a pool of blood. When this scene happened in front of everyone's eyes, it made everyone's hearts tremble violently. This unforeseen event happened so suddenly that even Boji himself didn't expect that someone would appear behind him. And after this person covered Boji's head with his hand, he crushed Boji's head. The speed of Boji's death was so fast that everyone present couldn't react in time. Everyone's hearts trembled violently. In that instant, everyone present was so shocked that they almost suffocated. The head of a living human being was actually, at that moment, everyone saw a handsome man who was half a head taller than Boji suddenly appear behind Boji. He was wearing black casual clothes. After the handsome man crushed Boji's head in front of everyone present, he kicked away Boji's corpse in front of him and walked towards Yun Jian. Everyone at the scene was thoroughly frightened. Oh my god. This is too scary. Who is this person? He actually, Jia Wei and Eva stood on the 5th floor and watched the scene unfold in front of them. When they saw Ce walk towards Yun Jian, the two of them were so scared that they didn't know how to describe it. Terrifying was the most appropriate word to describe Ce. Then they saw Ce walk directly to Yun Jian in front of everyone. He grabbed Yun Jian's hand and walked out. Everyone present watched as Ce grabbed Yun Jian's hand and left. Only Horace called out to Yun Jian right before she was taken away, "Yun Jian, you're the one who's leaving." "Young lady, thank you." Although it wasn't Yun Jian who avenged him in the end, this handsome man who suddenly appeared clearly had a close relationship with Yun Jian. This handsome man killed Boji for Yun Jian. Therefore, Horace watched Yun Jian leave with grateful eyes. The war had ended before it even began. Yun Jian blinked, taking a long time to come to her senses. When she finally reacted, Ce had already pulled Yun Jian onto the bus back to Z country. On the way, Ce repeated what the Lord said to her. After hearing Ce's words, Yun Jian already had a plan. Z country's eastern province. Yun Jian had to go. She didn't know when the mysterious persons of Yun Jian country's location of Yun, but Yun Jian had already decided that she would go to Puyo City, disguise herself as an ordinary person, and look for the specific location of the channel. No matter what, as long as there was a glimmer of hope to find the mysterious person, Yun Jian would not give up. She would make the mysterious person pay the price. Seeing Yun Jian looking at the window outside the bus, Ce's deep eyes flashed. The next second he put his handsome hand in front of Yun Jian. Seeing an egg suddenly appear in his hand, Yun Jian held back her breath and suddenly froze. "Where did you get this?" "A little girl gave it to you just now." "Eat it," Ce said. Just now, when Yun Jian was absent-minded, a little girl ran to Ce and handed him an egg. Then she ran away. She was a lovely little girl. At this moment, Ce peeled the shell of the egg and handed it to Yun Jian. Please remember the domain name of this book. Mobile version of reading website. Chapter 2304. Page 1/1. There seemed to be a surge of heat in her abdomen that connected her throat to her stomach, pushing the food she had swallowed back from her abdomen. Yunjian had rarely noticed something like this. When the nausea hit her, she bent down almost reflexively to retch. It felt like something was about to come out from her abdomen, but nothing came out when she bent down to retch. Siyi's eyes narrowed at the sight before he placed his hand on Yunjian's back as fast as he could and gave her a light pat, his brows knitted together as he spoke. His brows were furrowed as he asked, "Xiao Jin, what's wrong?" It was only after he was sure that the egg was fine that Siyi peeled it for Yunjian. Of course, Siyi would not make such a low-level mistake. When the nausea passed, Yunjian stuffed the egg back into Siyi's hand with a frown and pressed her lips together. "I don't feel like eating meat recently. It's probably a stomachache. I'll be fine in 2 days." After Yunjian said that, Siyi placed his hand on Yunjian's forehead with a frown to check Yunjian's temperature. After making sure that she did not have a fever, Siyi retracted his hand and said sternly, "Come to the hospital with me when we get home." Siyi's heart ached when he saw her retching. "Okay." Yunjian nodded. It was only in front of him that she could let go of all her toughness and just be a woman who was protected by him. In one's life, if one could find someone who was willing to give up his life for you, then one was very lucky. As for Yunjian, she was undoubtedly very lucky. In the vast and boundless universe, they were born together on Earth. They met and got to know each other among the more than 6 billion people on Earth. How much luck did it take for her to meet such a perfect person who was willing to give up his life for her? Siyi kept his arm around Yunjian's shoulder throughout the journey, letting Yunjian fall asleep on his shoulder. When they returned to Longmen City, Siyi brought Yunjian to the People's Hospital in Longmen City. In this era, mobile phones were not widely available yet, and it was even more impossible to register with a mobile phone. A city's People's Hospital was the best hospital in the entire city, so there were many people waiting in line all day to register manually at the People's Hospital. Before it was Yunjian's turn, Siyi dragged her to the hospital for a walk. There were patients everywhere near the hospital. There were elderly people who were pushing wheelchairs outside the hospital to bask in the sun. There were also patients who had manually taken out registration numbers and were waiting to register like Yunjian and Siyi. Although Yunjian was also a doctor, her expertise was limited to dealing with serious injuries. Some serious knife wounds, gunshot wounds, and other fatal external injuries. For example, she didn't know much about some diseases, but she knew a little about how to use medicine. When she was walking outside the hospital, she met an old man who was seriously ill. He was standing in the garden and telling stories to a group of children. She heard that these children would come here to listen to the old man's stories after school. The old man would tell stories to the children cheerfully all day long with a benevolent look on his face. Yunjian and Siyi did not go up to him, merely watching from afar. Later, they overheard 2 passers-by talking to each other that the old man had just been diagnosed with cancer and the hospital said that he only had 3 months left at most. The old man used to be a teacher and used his pension to help many poor children after he retired. Now that the old man was sick, these children would walk for 2 to 3 hours from the town to the hospital every day just to listen to the old man's stories and accompany him on his final journey. Looking at the old man laughing with the children from afar, outsiders would not be able to tell that the old man was sick at all. Yunjian's lips curled into a red smile. After waiting for half an hour, it was Yunjian's turn to see the doctor. There were not many patients in the hospital who were admitted to this department, so she did not have to wait too long. The female doctor scanned Yunjian's body again and again with the equipment, examining her for a while. Finally, in front of Yunjian and Siyi, the female doctor looked outside the door. Seeing that there was no one outside, she asked Yunjian and Siyi, "You two are a couple, right? Have you slept together?" Translator, Atlas Studios Editor, Atlas Studios. Chapter 2305. The female doctor was about 25 or 26 years old. When she asked this question, a trace of redness flashed across her face. It was obvious that the female doctor did not have the experience of asking this question. As a doctor who treated patients, this female doctor had actually just graduated from university not long ago. Doctors weren't like nurses. Doctors spent a lot more time in university than nurses. Some people only needed to study for 4 years in university, but some doctors spent more time in university than the average university student. After all, as a doctor, it was not a joke if they accidentally caused a death. Therefore, they naturally studied more than some university students. This also caused this female doctor to only work in the hospital for about a year even though she was already 25 or 26 years old. Therefore, whenever the female doctor needed to ask about some more private topic so that she could prescribe the right medicine, she would feel somewhat shy and unable to say it. Suddenly being asked this question, Yun Jian was also stunned. However, before she could recover from her shock, Ce shamelessly grabbed Yun Jian's hand and said without hesitation, "Of course." When she said these two words, Yun Jian could even hear a trace of pride in Ce's voice. Ahem. When these words came out, even the female doctor coughed a little awkwardly to try and alleviate the awkward atmosphere. After coughing twice, the female doctor rubbed her forehead and said, "Today, you two have been sleeping together. Recently you two, don't sleep together too much. The little girl must have eaten something bad and she's a little weak. That's why she's vomiting. I'll prescribe 2 medicines for the little girl, don't ruin her body." When the female doctor said this, she could not help but rub her forehead again. She felt that her forehead was about to burst. However, when the female doctor's words reached Yun Jian's ears, Yun Jian was not stupid. She naturally understood what the female doctor meant. "Young man, you should restrain yourself." The young lady. Ahem, she can't take it. What she meant was that Ce's body was too vigorous? When Yun Jian heard this, her face turned red. Before going to Death Island, Ce was indeed 10 times a night, her waist was about to break. After the female doctor said this, she also felt a little embarrassed. Fortunately, she lowered her head and used a pen to write a page in the medical record book. It was a very messy handwriting that outsiders could not understand. After she finished writing, the female doctor handed the medical record to Yun Jian and Ce. She coughed and said, "All right, go and get the medicine. You should restrain yourself for the next month. The little girl is still developing." Yun Jian pursed her lips slightly. She took the medical record from the female doctor and left with Ce. Chapter 2306. Page 1/1. Yun Jian did not know that the female physician had forgotten to apply pressure on her stomach in a moment of confusion. She had been eating lightly these days. Before she left the hospital, the female physician had told her that she had a stomachache these 2 days, so she should eat more bland food when she ate. Nourishing her stomach was her top priority. After staying in Longmen City for 2 days, Yun Jian headed to Puluo City. She had an appointment with Ce. As the mysterious man's divinity was damaged by Ce a few years ago, he could not come to Earth directly in the near future. Yun Jian was in charge of going to Puluo City to secretly find out where the mysterious man would open the passageway between myriad continents and Puluo City. Ce, on the other hand, would return to Deity Continent to handle some matters that needed to be handled before returning to Earth to meet Yun Jian. Before that, however, Ce had left Yun Jian a crystal ball that could be used to contact him from Earth. The crystal ball was only the size of a pinky finger, a smaller version of a regular crystal ball. If Ce was in Deity Continent and Yun Jian could not reach him with her phone, she could crush the crystal ball and he would rush to her side at once. Country Z, Eastern Province, Puluo City. Eastern Province was very far away from Zhe Province. Puluo City in Eastern Province was a first-tier city in Country Z, both in terms of transportation and development. Comparing Puluo City in Eastern Province and Longmen City in Zhe Province, Puluo City was a first-tier city in Country Z while Longmen City was just an ordinary city. The two were not on the same level. For example, people in Puluo City usually had a monthly income of 6,000 to 7,000 yuan while people in Longmen City only had a monthly income of 1,000 to 2,000 yuan. This was the difference. The difference between a first-tier city and an ordinary city. Of course, the higher monthly income in Puluo City meant that the amount of money spent was also higher than Longmen City. And in a big place like Puluo City, there was no shortage of rich people. Among the 3 wealthiest families in Puluo City, the Luo family, the Wei family, and the Hong family, the Wei family who ranked 3rd, had found their long-lost youngest daughter. Therefore, when Old Master Wei was happy, he held a banquet in a 5-star hotel in Puluo City and invited the upper class. It was 6 o'clock in the evening. At the entrance of the 5-star hotel, countless people from the upper class came to congratulate Old Master Wei, who was standing at the entrance of the hotel. The Wei family was ranked 3rd among the 3 richest families in Puluo City. His status was naturally not to be underestimated. Old Master Wei's youngest daughter, Wei Lin, went missing when she was 8 years old. Old Master Wei had been searching for his youngest daughter for 10 whole years. He had finally found the real lost daughter of the Wei family, Wei Lin. That was why they held such a grand banquet. Haha, please. Everyone please. The Wei family's old master, Wei Xiao, cupped his hands and invited everyone who came to celebrate into the hotel. The scene was extremely lively. Only after all the guests had entered the venue did the main character appear. At this moment, old Master Wei Xiao's youngest daughter, Wei Lin, who had been lost for 10 years and was finally found, was brought to the scene. The young girl who entered the venue was just 18 years old. She was very beautiful, with a pair of big eyes that seemed to be able to speak. Her skin was so smooth and fair that women couldn't take their eyes off of it. Coupled with her perfect high nose bridge and her captivating red lips. When old Master Wei Xiao's youngest daughter, Wei Lin, who had been lost for 10 years, was brought to the scene, the entire venue fell silent. Beautiful. Too beautiful. Too beautiful. The 18-year-old girl who entered the venue was so beautiful that everyone present forgot to breathe. Ah! Wei Xiao, you old thing, you actually gave birth to such a beautiful daughter. Unbelievable. A middle-aged man stared at the girl for a long time before speaking to Wei Xiao. Wei Xiao only smiled and didn't say anything. The young girl looked timid the entire time, as if she had never attended such a gathering before. The banquet ended. The young girl was brought to old Master Wei Xiao's room. Once the timid girl entered Wei Xiao's room, the timidity she had earlier was nowhere to be seen. That was right. The girl was none other than Yun Jian, who had come to Puluo City from Longmen City. Translator, Henyi Translations Editor, Henyi Translations. Chapter 2307. Page 1/1. At this moment, Yun Jian's timid demeanor from the banquet had faded away. Her sudden change in demeanor made old Master Wei Xiao tremble. He looked to the side, avoiding Yun Jian's gaze. Only then was he able to resist Yun Jian's intense kingly aura. Yun Jian was not as timid as she was at the banquet just now. She wore a faint smile when her eyes met with Wei Xiao, the old master of the Wei family, after her fear and timidity faded away. Then she took 2 steps toward Wei Xiao, walked past him, and came to the chair that Wei Xiao was supposed to be sitting on. She sat down on the chair without any hesitation and crossed her legs. That lazy look on her face, as if this was her territory, made Wei Xiao gulp hard as a chill ran down his spine. Yun Jian sat on the sofa and crossed her legs. She narrowed her eyes and looked at Wei Xiao. Only then did Wei Xiao speak. After this is done, can you really help me find my daughter, Wei Lin? Wei Xiao asked this very carefully, as if he was afraid of angering Yun Jian. Wei Xiao had no idea where Yun Jian came from or what she used to do. He only knew that Yun Jian's background was very powerful. As long as you play your role well and don't reveal our cooperation to anyone during this period of time, I will definitely fulfill your request, my dear father. After Yun Jian finished speaking, her eyes flashed sharply. She smiled faintly at Wei Xiao. For some reason, Yun Jian's words moved Wei Xiao for a moment. So Wei Xiao nodded heavily. I won't tell anyone. Even my wife and children believe that you are the daughter I found after being separated for many years. As long as you can help me find my daughter, Wei Lin, I will help you hide it well. Wei Xiao's words made Yun Jian's eyes move slightly. She smiled faintly and didn't say anything. After leaving Wei Xiao's study, Yun Jian went downstairs to the Wei family's villa. That was right. She planned to sneak into Puluo City as the youngest daughter of the Wei family and pay close attention to the abnormalities in Puluo City. She, slaying God, would take care of any trouble. How could anything go wrong? As soon as Yun Jian went downstairs, she saw a gorgeously dressed woman standing in front of her. Seeing this, Yun Jian did not intend to pay any attention to him and walked to the side. However, when the woman saw that Yun Jian ignored her, she got angry and rushed over to Yun Jian. The woman said angrily to Yun Jian, Wei Lin, how do you see the road? What can I do if I don't look after the house? No matter what, I'm still your sister, right? Is it because you've been missing for so many years that your temper has grown, or do you think you're so powerful? This woman was Wei Lin's sister, Wei Min, whom Yun Jian was impersonating. Wei Min was Wei Lin's biological sister. Wei Xiao had 3 children. His eldest son was Wei Zhe, his second daughter was Wei Min, and his third daughter was Wei Lin. It had been 10 years since Wei Xiao's third daughter, Wei Lin, was separated when she was 8 years old. Once 10 years had passed, a person's appearance would undergo an earth-shattering transformation. Therefore, it was not strange that Wei Xiao's second daughter, Wei Min, could not tell whether Yun Jian was real or not. Yun Jian, who was blocked by Wei Min, blinked and ignored Wei Min. She walked around Wei Min and headed to the main door. Seeing that Yun Jian was ignoring her, Wei Min shouted at Yun Jian's back. Why did you come back? You're such an impolite wild girl. You're not my sister. You might as well die outside for the rest of your life. Why did you come back? Translator, Atlas Studios Editor, Atlas Studios. Chapter 2308. Watching Yun Jian walk out of the Wei residence, Wei Min clenched her fists angrily. Her hands trembled as she clenched them, looking like she could not wait to dash forward and tear Yun Jian to shreds on the spot. Seeing Yun Jian ignore her and leave the Wei residence, Wei Min cursed in her heart. Why would you come back? When you were born, you took away my brother's love for me and my parents' love for me. Why did you come back now? Was it because I didn't throw you far enough back then? I actually gave you a chance to find your way home. However, before Wei Min could finish her thought, her brother Wei Zai's voice came from behind her. Sister, why are you standing here? Wei Min's looks were average, but her figure was okay. Their father Wei Xiao was short and average-looking. Wei Min inherited her father's looks, so she wasn't considered good-looking. However, Wei Min knew how to put on makeup, so she covered most of her ugly face. Wei Min's brother Wei Zai was very handsome. Wei Min didn't know who inherited his looks, but Wei Zai was the most popular guy in the university. Brother. It's Wei Lin. She just saw me and left without saying hello. I called her but she ignored me. I really missed her as a sister. I've missed her for 10 years. I'm really happy that she's back. But she doesn't seem to want to talk to me. Wei Min rolled her eyes and said to Wei Zai with a sad expression. This made Wei Zai, who had a glimmer of hope for his sister who had been separated from him for more than 10 years, gloomy. Wei Zai didn't say anything else. Yun Jian stayed at the Wei residence for 3 days. Generally speaking, the Wei family treated her well. They fed her well and dressed her well. 3 days later, Yun Jian was arranged to enter an elite college in Puluo City. This elite college in Puluo City included elementary, middle, high school, and university. Here, as long as you had money, you could enter. Those who entered this elite college in Puluo City were, without exception, the children of rich families. There were 1 or 2 students with excellent grades but poor family background who were specially recruited. However, under normal circumstances, such students would be isolated in the school. On this day, the weather was very clear. The sun was high up in the sky, and the morning air gave people a very fresh and comfortable feeling. Yun Jian carries a backpack and goes to the aristocratic school called the Imperial College. At the gate of the Imperial College, the cars that drove the children to and from school were all high-end sports cars, limited edition supercars. Yun Jian jogged directly from the Wei family to the school. Therefore, when they arrived at the school gate, Yun Jian, who did not have a luxury car to pick her up, became a special case that attracted a lot of attention. Yun Jian did not mind. After entering the school as per normal and reporting to the class, they were free to study. The University of the Royal Emperor Academy was similar to an ordinary high school. The students in the university sat in the same classroom and studied from morning to night. However, compared to ordinary high schools, the university students here were all children of rich families. Therefore, during class the students either slept or played with their phones. Although the university at the Imperial College was different from other universities, and Gu Nianji studied in a normal high school, it was much more comfortable here than in other universities. Other than having to attend classes from morning to night like an ordinary high school student, you could do whatever you wanted here. Even if you skipped class, the teacher would not dare to say no. After Yun Jian entered the school, she briefly introduced herself to her classmates, but no one paid attention to her. At that time, Yun Jian was arranged to sit at the back of the classroom. The students in the classroom were all rich second-generation heirs. In 2003, mobile phones began to officially enter the Z country market. At this time, games such as the gluttonous snake on mobile phones began to become popular, and many people who had mobile phones played them happily. The students in the classroom were either playing with their mobile phones, sleeping, or playing games. It was a typical upper-class life. Yun Jian's classmate was a male classmate. At this time, the male classmate was playing with his mobile phone in distress and muttering to himself. He did not see Yun Jian at all. F***CK. This damn thing is broken again. I'll get my dad to throw you to the recycling plant later. Who told you to break it? The male classmate fiddled with the phone's power button, but it did not ring for a long time. When Yun Jian saw this, her eyes narrowed slightly. In the next second she said, "Give me the phone." Suddenly, the male classmate heard Yun Jian's words and raised his head to look at Yun Jian for 2 seconds. Then he said in a daze, "You know how to fix it?" "Yes." A simple word sounded. The male classmate was not pretentious. He threw the phone to Yun Jian. However, he saw Yun Jian pick up a black pen and take apart all the parts of the male classmate's mobile phone. Seeing this, the male classmate was stunned for a moment before he said loudly, "Hey, hey, hey, you broke my phone. What should I do?" "Don't be noisy." These two simple words, but enough to suppress the male classmate, came from Yun Jian's mouth. Hearing this, the male classmate's heart skipped a beat and he did not say anything. At that time, the male classmate saw Yun Jian take apart the mobile phone, reassemble it, and then put all the parts back into the phone. Her speed was so fast that it was as if she knew the internal parts of the mobile phone very well. Please remember the domain name of this book. Mobile reading website. Chapter 2309. Yo, how did you do it? My phone hasn't been working properly for a few days now. How did you take out all the parts in the phone and completely put them back in? And this broken phone of mine actually turned on smoothly after you did that? After the male student recovered from his shock, he looked at Yun Jian with a shocked expression and said in a daze. The male student had just asked Yun Jian with a shocked expression, but he saw Yun Jian, who was sitting next to the male student, pursed her red lips. She put her index finger to her lips and made a shu gesture, then said, "As long as you promise me one thing, I'll fix your phone in the future." Of course, Yun Jian wouldn't fix this male student's phone for free. From this male student's words and actions, she could infer that this male student's family was very wealthy. But the phone in the male student's hand was already very old. The model of the phone was also an old model that was released last year and had been used for a long time. For a rich second generation from a wealthy family to use a broken phone for so long, it was enough to prove one thing. His pocket money had been deducted by his family. Yun Jian's point just now almost caught the male student's heart. So after hearing Yun Jian's words, this male student who didn't even see Yun Jian at the beginning looked at Yun Jian with a face full of excitement, then said with a face full of surprise, "Really? Okay. As long as it's within my ability, I'll promise you. Speaking of which, you're a new student, right? Hey, in the future when you're studying at our Imperial Academy, if anyone dares to mess with you, just tell me. I'll support you." The male student's face was full of excitement. Yun Jian's red lips curved slightly and she replied indifferently, "N. Alright, I haven't asked for your name yet, HM?" The male student was too lazy to look at Yun Jian at the beginning, but at this moment he looked at Yun Jian seriously. The Imperial Academy was a school for the aristocrats. The girls who studied here were all rich second generations. Their families were very rich and they also liked to dress up. So, no matter how ugly the girls in the academy were, they wouldn't be that ugly. In short, there was no shortage of beauties in the academy. Therefore, even if Yun Jian was a natural beauty, this group of students who were used to seeing beautiful women only looked at Yun Jian a few more times. After the male classmate said this, Yun Jian pursed her lips slightly and replied indifferently, "Wei Lin. My surname is Luo Jiechen." The male student who claimed to be Luo Jiechen introduced himself to Yun Jian. Luo Jiechen's Luo family was the head of the three richest families in Piluo City. The Luo clan, Hong clan and Wei clan were ranked in that order. The Luo family had the highest status in Piluo City. As for Luo Jiechen, he was the most mischievous and playful youngest son of the Luo family. Yun Jian nodded. "By the way, what do you want me to promise you?" Luo Jiechen asked after getting acquainted with Yun Jian. "You'll know when the time comes." Yun Jian narrowed her eyes. After she finished speaking, she didn't say anything else. At 6:30 in the evening, the school ended early. Yun Jian packed her bag and was about to walk to the school gate. But when Yun Jian was halfway there, her eyes suddenly moved. In the next second, she turned around and walked to the mountain behind the school with her bag on her back. Just for a moment, she felt the fluctuation of spiritual power in the mountain behind the school. Yun Jian didn't hide her presence. She hid in the mountain behind the school. She saw two groups of people standing in the mountain behind the school. These two groups of people were both students of the Imperial College. At this moment, one group of students had already been subdued by the other group of students. And Yun Jian saw her sister Wei Min and brother Wei Zhe in the group of students who had won. They were Wei Lin's brother and sister, whom Yun Jian was pretending to be. Hand over the thing. But she saw a boy standing next to Wei Min and Wei Zhe. Compared to the other boys in the college, he was very handsome and was in line with the school's most handsome boy. This boy's eyes were very sharp. With a cold face, he shouted at one of the students who had been subdued. And among the students who had been subdued, one of them was tightly protecting something. It looked like he had been struggling for a long time. Damn it! Break his dog leg. Let's see if he still hands it over. At this moment, A male student with dyed red hair bellowed with a thunderous voice. Picking up a metal rod, he directly smashed it towards the thigh of the student who was desperately trying to protect that thing in his arms. Ah! This student was hit by the metal rod. He cried out in pain and almost fainted. Yun Jian, who was hiding in the dark, narrowed her eyes. But just as Yun Jian was about to cross her arms and watch the show without hiding her hiding place, the boy with the sharp eyes suddenly looked in her direction. At the same time he shouted, "Who's there?" Hearing this, Yun Jian raised her eyebrows. This person was quite vigilant. Hearing this, Yun Jian didn't pretend. She stopped crossing her arms and walked out. When she saw Yun Jian's sister, Wei Min, was shocked. Then, in front of everyone, she shouted at Yun Jian, "Wei Lin, why are you here?" Please remember the domain name of this book. Mobile reading website. Chapter 2310. Page 1/1. Wei Lin was Yun Jian's current identity. Hearing Wei Min's words, the group of students standing beside Wei Min gulped in shock. Especially the boy who dyed his hair red. When he heard what Wei Min said, he blurted out in shock at her before Yun Jian could. "What's wrong with you? Min, is this your younger sister who was lost for 10 years before she was found, Wei Lin?" The red-haired boy was called Hong Ling. Hong Ling's Hong clan was the second most powerful clan in Piluo City. And Hong Ling was the only son of the Hong clan. Hence, the person who was usually brutal and ruthless, who had used a metal rod to smash the leg of a student who was protecting something in his arms, was Hong Ling. After being pointed out by Hong Ling that Yun Jian was her sister who had been lost for 10 years, Wei Min's face froze, and a look of displeasure flashed across her face. However, in front of everyone, Wei Min was obviously very concerned about her reputation. Yun Jian saw Wei Min scrutinizing the handsome boy who had a piercing gaze and a cold face from beginning to end with a bashful gaze before she spoke up. "I'm sorry, but I'm sorry, but I'm sorry." "That's right. This is my poor sister who was lost for 10 years, Wei Lin. My sister was lost for 10 years, and I don't even know what kind of suffering she went through outside. Was she bullied by others? I heard from the news that after many girls were kidnapped, they would be defiled. Lin, sister, is really sad that I wasn't able to stay by your side and protect you." Wei Min glared at Yun Jian but said such words. In front of everyone, Wei Min was a sister who was thinking for her sister. However, her words were not about Yun Jian who had been kidnapped for 10 years. She might have been defiled by men outside, and might even be a prostitute who had been ridden by thousands of men. Hearing Wei Min's words, everyone looked at Yun Jian strangely. Even the brother Wei Zhe, who had a trace of pity for his sister who had been lost for 10 years, instantly lost all good feelings towards Yun Jian. Unlike the crowd's reaction, the boy who had a sharp gaze and a cold face throughout, like he was the target of a teenage girl's adoration, glanced at Yun Jian out of the corner of his eye with a hint of interest. This girl saw how Hong Ling had used a metal rod to break the leg of a normal student, and she was not afraid? His eyes were sharp and his face was cold from beginning to end. The boy who was pursued by all the girls was called Luo Jiejun. That's right, Luo Jiejun was the brother of Luo Jiechen who Yun Jian met in the classroom. And Luo Jiejun was not only the eldest son of the Luo clan, he was also the most popular boy in the Royal Academy. At that time, Luo Jiejun looked at Yun Jian with interest. At this time, everyone present thought that Yun Jian would rush into Wei Min's arms and hug her sister, after hearing Wei Min's words. Or perhaps, when they saw Hong Ling smash that student's thigh with a metal rod, they were so scared that they screamed like ordinary female students. Everyone only saw Yun Jian walking towards the student whose leg had been broken. If a normal girl saw such a dark scene, she would definitely scream in fear. When the others saw Yun Jian walking toward the student whose leg was crippled, they thought that Yun Jian was going to feel sorry for the student like a normal girl who would even feel sorry for an ant that was trampled to death. However, they saw Yun Jian walk over without a word and step on the student's leg that had been broken by the metal rod. Injury on top of injury. The student screamed in pain after being stepped on by Yun Jian, and the item in his hand was thrown out. Yun Jian successfully caught the item thrown out by the student. Then, in front of Luo Jiejun, Hong Ling, Wei Zhe, Wei Min, and the rest who were all dumbfounded, she expressionlessly said to the student whose leg had been broken, "I'll take your item." Translator, Henyi Translations Editor, Henyi Translations. Chapter 2311. Page 1/1. They had thought that Yun Jian would go up to the student whose legs were crippled like a normal girl, or that she would stare at the student in horror and disbelief that they dared to do such a thing. who knew that Yun Jian would step forward and stomp on the thigh of the student whose legs were crippled by the rod, causing the student to nearly pass out from the pain as the item he was holding was flung out of his hand. Wei Min and Wei Zhe had been separated from each other for 10 years and had only just been found. How could she not be afraid after seeing such a dark scene in the school? Not only that, she stepped on the student's thigh without any fear and simply snatched the item from the student's hand. Luo Jejun narrowed his eyes and looked at Yun Jian with a strange gaze. This little girl who had just been found by the Wei family was not ordinary. She was really different from other girls of her age. She had successfully attracted his attention. Wei Zhe and Wei Min were also completely stunned. They had never thought that their little sister, who had been separated for 10 years and was so timid that she would hide in her mother's arms when she saw a cockroach or a rat, would actually be able to do this. Not only did she dare to look at the scene of the student's legs being crippled by the metal rod, she even dared to walk over and step on his thigh, forcing him to return the item in his arms. This was the first time Wei Zhe had looked at Yun Jian properly since his little sister who had been lost for 10 years had returned. Wei Min was so scared that her face changed. Even someone like her who often saw school fights and students beating each other up would be scared out of her wits when she saw Yun Jian's actions. And she actually did it so naturally. Say, your little sister who had been lost for 10 years is quite fierce. Too fierce, I just crippled that guy's legs and he was still protecting the item in his arms. She stepped on it and that guy was in so much pain that he couldn't even care about the item. King fierce. When Hong Ling, who had smashed the student with the iron rod, saw this scene, his shocked expression suddenly changed. He walked in front of Wei Zhe and grabbed him by the shoulder, shouting at him in shock. At this moment, Yun Jian took the item that the student had thrown and turned to leave. The item that Yun Jian had taken was a fan. But it was different from normal fans. There was a layer of faint spiritual energy on the surface of this fan. Regardless of whether the fan came from Wandao continent or not, Yun Jian was certain that it had something to do with Wandao continent. Just as Yun Jian was about to turn and leave, Wei Min's voice continued, wait. Wei Min's greeting sounded like she was really welcoming Yun Jian, her biological sister's return. Hearing this, Yun Jian's her eyes narrowed and stopped her footsteps. Since you're back, big sister will introduce you to everyone. Wei Min looked at Yun Jian with the expression of a loving big sister and said. Students who studied in normal schools had their own circle of friends, not to mention students who studied in this kind of aristocratic school. People with Wei Min's family background and status usually hung out with people of similar family background and status. Moreover, in this kind of aristocratic school, people who usually acted alone wouldn't be able to find friends and would be in a very awkward situation. So when everyone heard Wei Min's words, they all waited for Yun Jian to integrate into the group. But who knew that after Yun Jian stopped, she turned her head slightly and coldly said something that no one expected in front of everyone. No need. Translator, Atlas Studios Editor, Atlas Studios. Chapter 23:12. Page 1/1, Yun Jian's words spread across the entire hall. Everyone present was startled by the sudden change of events. Even a young girl from an ordinary school was used to hanging out with friends. She had to go to the cafeteria with her friends, go to the bathroom with her friends and go to PE class with her friends. If she couldn't find any friends, she would be seen as a loner. Outsiders might even think that she was crazy, so no one wanted to be her friend. Naturally, young girls were the most afraid of being looked down upon, so they would usually find someone to hang out with them. Even if they didn't have any friends, they had to blend in with the group. This was just an ordinary school, and in the Imperial Academy, this was even more obvious. Most girls would blend in with their group. But Yun Jian's words, don't need? When these words came out, everyone present was stunned. Even Luo Jejun frowned and looked at Yun Jian with interest. Yes, whether she was playing hard to get or not, she had successfully attracted his attention. And at that time Yun Jian turned and left after saying these words. She was a loner. Yun Jian exuded an aura that was different from others, so everyone present couldn't help but look at her differently. It was the first time Luo Jejun, Hong Ling, and the others had seen her innately arrogant aura that made everyone present submit to her. Even Wei Zhe had to re-evaluate his sister, who had been lost for 10 years. Yun Jian put the fan with spiritual power into her backpack and returned to the Wei family. In the next few days, Yun Jian went back and forth between the Wei family and the Imperial Academy. She also woke up early to do morning exercises and exercise. She didn't fall behind in any of them. Ever since that day, Luo Zhechen was no longer afraid of breaking his phone. And ever since that day Luo Zhechen also followed Yun Jian. Even when going to the cafeteria Luo Zhechen had to go with Yun Jian. As the young master of the Luo family, Luo Zhechen's status in the Imperial College was not ordinary. Although Luo Zhechen was slightly inferior to his brother Luo Zhejun in terms of excellence and appearance, Luo Zhechen was still the young master of the Luo family, and his appearance was not bad. Luo Zhechen was also considered the most handsome man in the Imperial College and was sought after by countless girls. Therefore, when they saw Luo Zhechen chasing after Yun Jian every day, all the girls thought that Luo Zhechen had fallen in love with this new female classmate. Therefore, these days no one treated Yun Jian nicely. At this moment, Yun Jian was sitting at a table in the cafeteria. Luo Zhechen stood beside Yun Jian like a servant. He asked Yun Jian what she wanted to eat and he would help her get it. Whatever. Yun Jian was not a picky eater. After all, Luo Zhechen was a boy and Yun Jian was a girl. Chapter 23:13. Page 1/1, but Yun Jian didn't think too much about it. After Yun Jian said that, Luo Zhechen answered and ran to get Yun Jian's lunch box. Yun Jian rested her eyes with her elbows on the school cafeteria's dining table with a hand on her forehead. What? Sister, you're here alone? Just as Yun Jian was about to close her eyes to rest, her sister Wei Min's voice suddenly sounded. Then, even if Yun Jian didn't open her eyes, she could feel that Wei Min was walking towards her with a group of people from the mountain behind the school that night. Children from rich families like Wei Min and Wei Zhe usually hung out with other children from rich families who were about the same as them on campus. So, it wasn't strange that Wei Min and Wei Zhe were accompanied by Luo Zhejun and Hong Ling. Luo Zhejun could not help being captivated by Yun Jian's charisma when he saw her sitting alone at the canteen table with her elbows on the table and her eyes closed lazily with a hand on her head. He took a few more glances at her. Luo Zhejun was known as the Cold Prince in the Imperial Academy and was called Young Master Jun. He was one of the most popular school hunks in the Imperial Academy. So, when Luo Zhejun looked at Yun Jian a few more times, the surrounding girls looked at Yun Jian with resentment. Back then Wei Min, who was Yun Jian's biological sister by name, had wanted to call her Wei Lin, but she forced herself to call her younger sister, instead of calling her by her full name in an unfriendly manner. Seeing the boy she admired, Luo Zhejun, look at Yun Jian a few more times, Wei Min used her thumb to dig into the flesh of her hand. Because she used too much force, her knuckles turned white. In spite of it, Wei Min still flashed a kind smile at her in front of everyone. Hearing Wei Min's voice, Yun Jian only opened her eyes and glanced at Wei Min before closing them again. Wei Lin. Min is calling you. Even if you were separated for 10 years and only found recently, Min is still your sister. No matter what Min is greeting you, you should at least respond. Seeing Yun Jian glance at Wei Min and close her eyes again, as Yun Jian's brother in name, Wei Zhe couldn't help but yell at Yun Jian. Wei Zhe originally still had some hope for his sister who had just been found. However, Wei Min had badmouthed Yun Jian in front of Wei Zhe more than once, causing Wei Zhe's good impression of Yun Jian. Especially after Yun Jian returned to the Wei family, Wei Xiao, the biological father of the trio, and his wife, who was also Wei Min and Wei Zhe's mother, had given all their love and affection to their youngest daughter Yun Jian, who had just been found. It was also why Wei Zhe was estranged from Yun Jian. Brother, it's not my fault. I was just found recently, so it's normal that I'm not used to it. After all, I suffered a lot outside. Wei Min spoke up quickly at Wei Zhe's words. Her innocent look would make those who did not know the situation think that Yun Jian was the one who bullied her. Hearing this, Wei Zhe's dissatisfaction with Yun Jian increased. He frowned and paced 2 rounds on the spot before suddenly speaking to Yun Jian in the tone of a brother lecturing his sister. What's wrong with you? There's been a rumor in school recently that you were found after being separated for 10 years and that you're riding on the coattails of the Luo family's young master, Luo Zhechen? Take it easy in the future. Since you're back in the Wei family, you're the face of the Wei family. Don't do anything embarrassing for the Wei family. There had been a rumor in school recently that Yun Jian was riding on the coattails of the Luo family's young master, Luo Zhechen. She was just short of doing something disgusting with her body. Obviously Wei Zhe believed these rumors. Hearing Wei Zhe's words, Yun Jian's eyelids twitched, but she didn't say anything. Seeing this, Wei Zhe thought that Yun Jian had silently admitted to it. Wei Zhe was so angry that he thought his long-lost sister had really abandoned herself and was about to reprimand her again. The young master of the Luo family, Luo Zhechen, who was rumored to be riding on Yun Jian's coattails, was stumbling over with 2 bowls of lunchboxes. Make way, make way. Make way for me. Luo Jiechen said as he ran over. It wasn't until Luo Jiechen placed one of the two lunchboxes in front of Yun Jian that Wei Min, Wei Zhe, Luo Jiejun, and the others saw Luo Jiechen looking at Yun Jian with a fawning expression. He smiled and said, "Madam, I've prepared your lunchbox. Try it and see if it's to your liking. If it's not to your liking, I'll get another one for you." Translator, Henyi Translations Editor, Henyi Translations. Chapter 23:14. Page 1/1. Seeing Luo Jiechen using such a flattering expression to express his goodwill to Yun Jian, Wei Zhe, Wei Min, Luo Jiejun and Hong Ling were shocked. Especially Wei Zhe and Wei Min. The young master of the Luo family, Luo Jiechen, was usually arrogant and playful. He was someone who did not do his job properly. Moreover, Luo Jiechen was completely different from Wei Zhe and Wei Min. Luo Jiechen walked the unorthodox path. Even if the Heavenly King came, he would not be able to make Luo Jiechen bow his head. Just last year, because the principal of the Imperial College caught Luo Jiechen violating the school rules, he severely criticized Luo Jiechen. In the end, Luo Jiechen sent the principal to the hospital. After this incident, Luo Jiechen's father personally brought Luo Jiechen to apologize to the principal. He even deducted 2 years of Luo Jiechen's pocket money. It could be said that Luo Jiechen was a little hedgehog that refused to admit defeat. At least Wei Zhe, Wei Min and the rest had never seen Luo Jiechen submit to anyone. But what was going on today? The former little tyrant Luo Jiechen actually called a girl, grandaunt? He even personally queued up to buy her lunchbox. He even said, "If it's not to your liking, I'll get another one for you." Wei Zhe, Wei Min and the rest were stunned. Putting aside the fact that the rumor that Yun Jian was riding on the coattails of the Luo family's young master was not true, based on the current situation, it was the young master of the Luo family, Luo Jiechen, trying to curry favor with Yun Jian. Wei Zhe's expression changed when he saw this. At this time, Luo Jiechen also noticed Wei Zhe and the people standing around him. When he saw his big brother Luo Jiejun, Luo Jiechen was stunned. He then looked at Luo Jiejun in a daze and said weakly, "Big brother, Jiechen, what are you doing?" Luo Jiejun shouted at Luo Jiechen. "No, I'm just getting a lunchbox for my grandaunt." Luo Jiechen was most afraid of his big brother. Now that Luo Jiejun shouted at him, his body trembled and he quickly said, "Grandaunt?" Hearing his younger brother address Yun Jian in such a manner, Luo Jiejun turned to look at Yun Jian with interest. A trace of interest appeared on his handsome face, which was enough to charm thousands of girls in the campus. That's right. This is my family's great aunt. She was amazing. You will fix my phone." Luo Jiechen answered his brother's question without reservation. No one was surprised to hear that Yun Jian knew how to repair her phone. After all, in everyone's eyes, Yun Jian was the youngest daughter of the Wei family who had been lost for 10 years. Perhaps she had done the hard work of repairing mobile phones outside? While they were chattering, Yun Jian put down her lunchbox, stood up and walked out of the cafeteria. "And my great aunt, you finished eating so quickly. Wait for me." Seeing this, Luo Jiechen couldn't care less about the others. He quickly took a few mouthfuls of his lunchbox and chased after Yun Jian. Luo Jiejun, who was standing in the same spot, saw this and narrowed his eyes. He stared at Yun Jian's departing footsteps with his sharp eyes and raised his eyebrows. Playing hard to get? She had indeed succeeded in attracting his attention. Today's class ended early because it was Friday. School ended at 3 in the afternoon. Yun Jian carried her backpack and left the school. After leaving the school, Yun Jian went straight to the market. There was an old man in his 50s who set up a stall in the market. The pickled vegetables he sold were especially delicious. For the past few days she came back every day to buy the pickled vegetables. Seeing that Yun Jian had come again, the old man smiled and gave Yun Jian an appropriate amount of pickled vegetables. He even secretly gave Yun Jian an extra handful of pickled vegetables. When he handed the pickled vegetables to Yun Jian, he said with a smile, "Spicy and spicy, spicy and spicy. This little girl likes to eat sour food so much. When she gets married and has children in the future, I guarantee that she will give birth to a fair and chubby grandson." Top reading website, M. Chapter 23:15. Yun Jian's expression didn't change at all when she heard the old man's words, but she blushed slightly. Yun Jian's heart warmed at the thought that she and Ce would have children in the future. Yun Jian didn't respond to the old man's words. She just nodded at him and turned to leave the market. After returning to the Wei family, Yun Jian handed the pickled vegetables to the Wei family's servants. Then she went upstairs to her room. Yun Jian placed her school bag on the desk in her room and took out a few throwing knives, 2 butterfly knives and a silver Desert Eagle pistol. After hiding everything under her bed, she changed into casual sportswear and went downstairs. Exercise before meals was also essential. However, the sportswear Yun Jian changed into was a tight-fitting, short-sleeved sportswear that exposed her navel. She also wore a pair of black shorts. This set of sportswear completely exposed her perfect curves. It was inconvenient to wear thick clothes when exercising. Although it was winter now, the whole country was cold, especially in the north. People who were closer to the north were so cold that they were almost curled up into a ball. However, Pyuyo City was located very close to the south of Country Z. The climate was comfortable. Even in winter, the coldest time in Pyuyo City was at most the temperature of autumn in other regions. It wasn't considered cold. Therefore, even if Yun Jian went out to exercise in the middle of winter, she wouldn't feel too cold. However, it was difficult to hide a weapon in this set of sportswear, so Yun Jian decided to go out without any weapons. She was still a little stunned when she stepped out of the door. Because it had rained that morning, the streets were still wet. There was no sun for the whole day, so the accumulated water on the streets hadn't receded. Yun Jian jogged out of the house. She ran around a park near the neighborhood and a rather large lake beside the park before going home. Unexpectedly, she coincidentally bumped into Wei Min and the others on the way home. Wei Min, Wei Zhe, Luo Jiejun and Hong Ling often played together. As a matter of fact, when Yun Jian returned home from school, they went to a nearby arcade to play games for a while before heading home. On the way home, Wei Min suggested that everyone go to Wei Min's house for dinner before disbanding. Everyone agreed with this decision. Luo Jiejun didn't like to go to the Wei family for dinner, but when he thought of the interesting little daughter of the Wei family, he agreed. Unexpectedly, he bumped into Yun Jian, who had just returned home from her night practice. Back in school, Yun Jian was dressed in loose-fitting clothes, so it was impossible to see her proud figure. In spite of it, what was presented in front of everyone was Yun Jian's voluptuous breasts that were wrapped in the tight-fitting sportswear, her slim waist, and her long, slender skin that looked smooth and tender just by looking at it. That golden ratio figure, coupled with perfect curves, made everyone present dumbfounded. By the time they reacted, Yun Jian had already walked past them and walked forward. Lin, you didn't even greet me when you saw me. Wei Min looked at Yun Jian's perfect figure and said with a fake smile. Yun Jian ignored her. Seeing this, both Wei Min and Wei Zhe felt awkward. Just when they thought that Yun Jian wouldn't turn around, Yun Jian suddenly turned around and looked at them. Do you know where in Pyuyo City there are abnormal occurrences? Please remember the domain name of this book. Mobile reading website. Chapter 23:16. What Yun Jian wanted to ask was naturally about the mysterious man opening the passage from the myriad continents to Earth. Of course she wouldn't ask directly. So she asked, abnormal event? Hearing Yun Jian's words, the people present were slightly stunned. Even Wei Min was stunned. After realizing what she meant, the people present were puzzled. Why do you want to know about abnormal events? You're a young girl, it's better for you to know your place. Hong Ling, who had dyed his hair red, laughed after hearing Yun Jian's words. Hong Ling quite admired Yun Jian. Previously, when he smashed a student's thigh with an iron rod, Yun Jian, as a girl, not only did she not cry or make a fuss, she even went up and directly stepped on the student's injured thigh, and directly took the fan from his hand. This action was indeed admirable. However, at that time, Hong Ling and the others' purpose was not the fan in the student's hand, so the fan in the student's hand was taken away by Yun Jian. You just need to answer my question. After Hong Ling finished speaking, Yun Jian's eyes moved, and the sharp light in her eyes shocked the people present. However, the few of them still managed to react. There hasn't been any abnormal events in Pyuyo City recently. Luo Jiejun looked at Yun Jian with a playful expression and said, Jun Yu. Seeing Luo Jiejun show such an expression, Hong Ling was shocked and stunned. After all, Luo Jiejun, who was known as the Cold Prince, never bothered to talk to girls automatically. Seeing Luo Jiejun actually talk to Yun Jian, Wei Min, who had a crush on Luo Jiejun, opened her mouth, closed her mouth and then clenched her fists. Finally, Wei Min clenched her fists, looked at Yun Jian with a smiling expression, and pretended to be kind and said, Lin, where have you been all these years? What have you done? Lin, don't worry, no matter what you've done, we won't blame you. After all, you didn't have a choice. My heart aches for you, Lin. That's why I want to know what happened to you. Wei Min really touched a sore spot. When the surrounding people heard her words, they naturally thought that she was doting on her younger sister. However, Yun Jian wasn't stupid. She naturally understood the meaning behind Wei Min's words. She probably couldn't wait to hear something bad from him, right? Yun Jian's lips curled into a cold arc, but the moment she did so, her eyes darkened. Be careful. Get down. Luo Jiejun also suddenly reacted to the change in the surrounding atmosphere. He abruptly opened his mouth, and his reprimand sounded almost at the same time. Hearing this, Wei Min, Wei Zhe and Hong Ling all dodged to the side. That's right, Luo Jiejun, Wei Min and the others were all martial artists. The three great families of Puluo City were not as simple as they seemed. On the surface, the three great clans were righteous, but in fact they relied on the underworld to make their fortune. Therefore, the children of the three big families in Puluo City all had the ability to protect themselves. This was something ordinary people didn't have. After everyone took cover, a row of machine guns swept past the place where they were standing just now. Seeing this, even Wei Min and the rest of the martial artists took a deep breath. When Wei Min came back to her senses, she wanted to turn around to look at Yun Jian with a smug expression. She wanted to show off that she and the others were children of the three great clans. Since young, they were different from ordinary students. Unlike her, an ordinary child who was found outside, they grew up with martial arts training. However, she saw that Yun Jian had already dodged the bullets and was standing in a very conspicuous spot. If the group of people suddenly appeared with machine guns, they would be able to shoot at them. Come back. This group of people must be here to assassinate us. You're just an ordinary person. Quickly find a place to hide. Leave this to us. When Luo Jiejun saw this, he frowned deeply and said. He and the others around him all thought that Yun Jian was just an ordinary person. Just when Luo Jiejun and the others thought that Yun Jian was so scared that she didn't dare to move and just happened to dodge the bullets, they saw Yun Jian suddenly smile in front of everyone. Then, in front of Wei Zhe, Wei Min, Luo Jiejun and Hong Ling, she looked at the group of people with machine guns in front of her and said in an extremely arrogant tone, "They're here to kill me. Unfortunately, I didn't bring any weapons today. However, I can only trouble you to lend me your machine guns. Please remember the domain name of this book. Mobile reading website. Chapter 23:17. Page 1/1. Yun Jian's words shocked everyone present. These people who suddenly appeared with machine guns were all here to kill her. How was that possible? She was only the youngest daughter of the Wei family who had been lost for 10 years and had just been found. She was just an ordinary little girl who hadn't even received any training from her family. How dare she say that these people were here to kill her? On the other hand, Luo Jiejun, Hong Ling, Wei Zhe, and Wei Min were all children of the Luo, Hong and Wei families of Puluo City. When the three big families of Puluo City, the Luo, Hong and Wei families, first started out, they did not rely on the legal side. The three big families of Puluo City started out by relying on the underworld. Later on they returned to the legal side. However, when they were in the underworld they had offended many people, so the three big families were often hunted down. As the heirs of the three big families, Luo Jiejun, Hong Ling, Wei Zhe, and Wei Min had received special training from their families since they were young, so they were often hunted down. Therefore, when they saw the scene just now, Luo Jiejun and the rest's first reaction was that these people who suddenly appeared with machine guns were here for them. Who would have thought that Yun Jian would say something like that? Crazy. She's crazy. Jun, your skills are the best. Go and save her. The three of us will cover you, and when you come back we'll choose to retreat quickly. Hearing Yun Jian's words, Hong Ling was stunned for a moment, then anxiously said to Luo Jiejun. Because of the sudden burst of machine gun fire, the red-haired Hong Ling no longer cared about his image and said to Luo Jiejun. Okay. Luo Jiejun nodded and was about to move towards Yun Jian. No. I'll go. That's my sister. I can successfully save her. Seeing that Luo Jiejun was about to go save Yun Jian, Wei Min panicked and grabbed Luo Jiejun's hand and shouted. If Luo Jiejun went to save Yun Jian, he would definitely touch Yun Jian's hand, and the two of them might even hug each other. This was unacceptable to Wei Min. I'll go. Wei Min still wanted to say something, but Luo Jiejun lowered his eyes and shouted. After saying that, Luo Jiejun let go of Wei Min's hand and planned to walk to where Yun Jian was just now. Just as they were done debating and Luo Jiejun flung Wei Min's hand away, intending to stand toward Yun Jian so that he could be shot by the sudden appearance of the handheld machine guns in front of him, Luo Jiejun was interrupted. Luo Jiejun and the others were surprised to find that Yun Jian was gone. Where is she? When Hong Ling saw this, he was stunned and shouted. She couldn't have found a place to hide, could she? We were thinking about her safety and my sister is too naughty. Does she know that she's in danger? As her elder sister, I'm very worried about her. Wei Min thought that Yun Jian had found a place to hide herself. She was angry. Just as she was about to say something extreme, she suddenly realized that she was in front of Luo Jiejun, so she quickly changed her words. There. Just as Wei Min was thinking about how narcissistic Yun Jian was, insisting that the group of people armed with machine guns were targeting her in such a dangerous situation, she thought that Yun Jian was trying to attract the attention of Luo Jiejun, who was known as the Cold Prince in school. Suddenly a scream was heard. Hong Ling was looking at the group of people armed with machine guns not far away with a terrified expression. The machine guns in his hands were already gone. In front of that group of people was Yun Jian, who had disappeared in front of Luo Jiejun and the others. At this moment, Yun Jian was standing on dozens of machine guns. She was standing lazily in front of everyone, waving a machine gun in her hand. That leisurely and lazy look was enough to make everyone tremble. It also happened to be in line with Yun Jian's arrogant words just now. She actually. In the blink of an eye, she actually snatched all the machine guns from the other party's hands. Hong Ling's eyes widened as he looked at the scene in front of him in shock. As Yun Jian's brother in name, Wei Zai's eyes also shrunk. Wei Min's face darkened. Luo Jiejun, on the other hand, glanced at Yun Jian playfully. They didn't even see clearly when Yun Jian made her move. Ka-chow. At this moment they saw Yun Jian stepping on the pile of machine guns with one foot. After twirling the machine gun in her hand nimbly, she pulled the bolt and pointed the machine gun at the group of people in front of her. She sneered and said, "Tell me who sent you to assassinate me and I'll give you a quick death." Translator, Atlas Studios Editor, Atlas Studios. Chapter 23:18. Page 1/1. Luo Jiejun, Hong Ling, Wei Zai and Wei Min's faces changed as they watched Yun Jian play with the machine gun. The other party had a machine gun. And Yun Jian actually took the opportunity to snatch the machine gun from their hands while they were talking. Even if Luo Jiejun and the rest did not see Yun Jian's actions, they should know how shocking Yun Jian's actions were. Who was she? Not only could she play with the machine gun so easily, but she also had such unbelievable strength. Wei Zai, Wei Min and Hong Ling were all dumbfounded. Luo Jiejun narrowed his eyes as he became more and more interested in Yun Jian. What happened to her in the 10 years that she was lost? Just as Luo Jiejun narrowed his eyes and studied Yun Jian's expression changed. "I'll tell you. Let me live. I'll tell you everything. We've been hurt by T." One of the men who was carrying the machine gun heard Yun Jian's words. Because he saw Yun Jian's strength, he was so shocked that he wanted to confess the person who sent them to assassinate Yun Jian. Bang 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 bang. A series of sniper shots rang out. After the series of sniper shots rang out. At the same time, the man who had planned to have a showdown with Yun Jian, as well as the group of people who were shooting at Yun Jian and her friends with machine guns, were all killed on the spot due to the sudden sniper shot. Someone must have killed them from high up in the sky. Seeing this, Yun Jian narrowed her eyes. She did not make a move and just watched the group of people die in front of her. She had the ability to save the man who was about to confess the person who sent the men to assassinate her. But Yun Jian did not make a move. That was because she already knew who sent the men to assassinate her. The group of people who were suddenly killed by snipers from high up in the sky were splattered with blood. This scene shocked Luo Jiejun, Wei Min and the rest. But when Yun Jian saw this, she directly threw the machine gun in her hand and turned to leave as if nothing had happened. Seeing this scene, Luo Jiejun and the rest could not remain calm. Luo Jiejun and the rest quickly caught up with Yun Jian and blocked Yun Jian's path. Wei Zai, Yun Jian's brother in name, immediately spoke to Yun Jian. "Wei Lin, what happened to you in the 10 years you left home? You're just an ordinary student, how did you provoke such an enemy?" It was obvious that when Yun Jian asked the man who sent them to kill her just now, he was killed by a sniper from high up in the sky just as he was about to spill the beans. From this, it could be concluded that that group of people who were armed with machine guns were here to kill Yun Jian. Yun Jian, on the other hand, was the youngest daughter of the Wei family who had just been found and lost for 10 years. How could she provoke such an enemy? This made Luo Jiejun, Hong Ling, Wei Zai, Wei Min and the rest in disbelief. So after the shock, the group immediately chased after her to question her. "Get out of the way." Yun Jian, who was surrounded by Luo Jiejun and the rest, spoke coldly. No, Wei Lin, your brother must be concerned about you, so he wants you to tell us about your recent situation. You're a girl, how did you provoke such an enemy? But don't be afraid. Tell us everything and let us think of a solution for you. When Hong Ling first met Yun Jian, he was attracted by Yun Jian's different style from other young girls. Now he felt that Yun Jian was even more attractive. So, he wanted to rope Yun Jian in as one of them, which was why he said this. Hong Ling's words were undoubtedly a great acknowledgement of Yun Jian. At least, if it were any other young girl, they would be so excited that they would jump 3 feet into the air. But after Yun Jian heard Hong Ling's words, her eyes still moved. Her expression was even colder as she repeated her words. Get out of the way. When she said this, Hong Ling was shocked by Yun Jian's aura and stepped to the side. Yun Jian walked around them and walked in the direction of the Wei residence. Seeing Yun Jian's figure gradually disappear, Luo Jiejun couldn't help but narrow his eyes as his thoughts drifted. Luo Jiejun didn't see the scene where Yun Jian snatched the machine gun, but he was sure that to be able to snatch the machine gun from the hands of that group of people, her skills were almost comparable to his. Top reading website, M. Chapter 23:19. Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation, page 1/1. Thinking of this, Luo Jiejun's eyes narrowed even more. Interesting, too interesting. Wei family's youngest daughter, Wei Lin, you've been attracting my attention all this time. Brother Jiejun. Brother Jiejun. Brother Jiejun. When Wei Min saw Luo Jiejun staring in the direction where Yun Jian left without looking back for a long time, she dug her fingernails into her skin and called out 3 times with a grim face. After 3 times, Luo Jiejun realized that Wei Min was calling him. MMM? When Luo Jiejun snapped out of it, he stared at the spot where Yun Jian was not before turning back to look at Wei Min. With this, Wei Min became even angrier. She was so angry that her body trembled. Her long fingernails almost dug into the flesh on her hands. Someone would naturally take care of the corpses. Every organization would have someone who specialized in cleaning up the corpses and would not leave any traces behind. At this moment, Yun Jian had just returned to the Wei family. Little miss, you're back? Dinner is ready. Little miss, go wash your hands and get ready to eat. The Wei family's old servant, Auntie Zhang, said to Yun Jian when she saw Yun Jian return from her night practice. Hearing Auntie Zhang's words, Yun Jian nodded and went to the kitchen to wash her hands before sitting at the dining table. At the huge dining table, Yun Jian, who was pretending to be Wei Lin's biological mother, Wang Ruoya, was sitting at the head of the table. Seeing Yun Jian walk over, Wang Ruoya stood up and pulled Yun Jian to her seat with a doting look on her face. Wang Ruoya loved Yun Jian very much as she had only found her biological daughter, after being separated from her for 10 years. Even the love she had for Wei Zhe and Wei Min was transferred to Yun Jian after Yun Jian came to the Wei family. Wang Ruoya did not know that Yun Jian was an impostor. Wei Xiao had received Yun Jian's order and did not dare to tell anyone. At this moment, Wang Ruoya felt that she owed her daughter who had been separated from her for 10 years. Hence, she pulled Yun Jian to the dining table and kept putting food in her bowl. Child, eat. You've suffered all these years. Mother doesn't know what you've suffered outside. Mother will make it up to you in the future. Wang Ruoya translation Wang Ruoya translation Wang Ruoya translation As she said Wang Ruoya, and Wang Ruoya, mother. Yun mother's mother. Was Yun Jianyu. Translation. Today, Auntie Zhang, Aunt, Mother Zhang, Mother, Aunt Zhang, Mother was Aunt Zhang, Aunt, Auntie Zhang, Lady, Aunt Zhang, Miss Zhang, Zhang, translation Zhang, translation As translation Yun Jian was very satisfied with the meal. Wei's Wei translation When Wei translation When that translation When Wei when translation. This made Wei Min and Wei Zhe even more dissatisfied with Yun Jian Yu Yang. However, Wei Min and Wei Zhe did not mention anything about what had happened in the park. Although the two of them wanted to tell their mother about Yun Jian Yu Yang, they were afraid that their mother, Wang Ruoya translation Wang Ruoya, would worry about them, so they kept their mouths shut. Luo Jiejun Yu Yang changed his mind and did not plan to come to the Wei family for dinner because he had met Yun Jian before. This made Wei Min Yu Yang think even more highly of Yun Jian Yu Yang. After this incident, Wei Min Yu Yang began to suspect Yun Jian Yu Yang. Was she really her snot-nosed sister who had been separated from her for 10 years? After nearly half a month of comfortable days, the school was about to start its winter break. This morning Yun Jian Yu Yang came to the classroom very early. Luo Zhechen Yuyang rushed into the classroom early in the morning and said to Yun Jian Yuyang excitedly, "There's news. There's news. There's news. Recently, people have been disappearing in Puyo City. Currently, the police have been involved in the investigation, but the news is still blocked from the public. Outsiders really can't find this news, but who asked my Luo family's little tyrant to take action? I'll get it right away." Translator, Atlas Studios Editor, Atlas Studios. Chapter 2320. Yun Jian had told Luo Zhechen to keep an eye out for any strange happenings in Puyo City and to inform her once he discovered anything. The scout that Luo Zhechen had sent out this morning had reported that there was a strange incident in Puyo City. So Luo Zhechen had rushed to the academy without even putting on his clothes properly this morning. He had wanted to tell Yun Jian the news in a hurry. "Give me the details." Yun Jian's eyes darkened as she spoke. "Hey, it's like this. I heard that in the suburbs of Puyo City, there was a large construction site that was under construction. The construction site workers had to work overtime at night. But last week, a worker went missing while working overtime at the construction site. Since then, there have been workers going missing at the construction site every day. Don't you think it's scary? It's like a supernatural incident. The police have already surrounded the place and no one is allowed to enter. This incident has already been sealed off. If you didn't know me, you wouldn't have known about this." Luo Zhechen looked at Yun Jian expectantly as he spoke. He was waiting for Yun Jian to praise him. Hearing Luo Zhechen's words, Yun Jian's eyes darkened. She paused for a moment before replying softly, "Yeah." Luo Zhechen, who had wanted to see what expression Yun Jian would have on her face, was stunned. "That's it?" Nothing happened for the entire day. Yun Jian didn't plan to take any action today. As usual, after school ended at Imperial Academy in the evening, Yun Jian put on her shoulder bag and walked towards the school gate. She had just walked out of the classroom when a girl walked towards her. The girl lowered her head and walked in front of Yun Jian. She handed a black gunny sack to Yun Jian and a small white slip of paper to Yun Jian. She said, "This is for you." Then she turned and walked towards the stairs at the side. Yun Jian looked into the black gunny sack and found that it was filled with pickled cabbage that had just been pickled. It was very fresh. He unfolded the small piece of paper and read it. "My dad asked me to pass this to you. He said that you're a student from the same school as me and you'd go to his place to buy pickled vegetables every day. He fell down at his house this morning and couldn't go to the market to set up his stall. He was afraid that you wouldn't be able to buy any pickled vegetables from the market, so he asked me to pass the pickled vegetables to you. These pickled vegetables are a gift from my dad. He said that you're a regular customer so you don't have to pay." Yun Jian narrowed her eyes at the sight. Come to think of it, the girl just now should be the daughter of the old man who bought the pickled vegetables. Who would have thought that the old man actually had an 18 or 19-year-old daughter? He must have gotten the child when he was old. Yun Jian narrowed her eyes and carried the black sack down the stairs, intending to walk towards the school gate. "Oh my! Isn't this our school's top student, Ling Chanqian? What? Why are you in such a hurry to go home?" "Hee, I heard that your father sells vegetables in a vegetable market in Puyo City. Since when is the school's threshold so low that even the daughter of a vegetable seller can enter our school?" Just as Yun Jian was walking down the stairs, she suddenly saw the girl who had lowered her head and stuffed the pickled vegetables into her hands being surrounded by a few other girls. They pinched her face, pulled her clothes, slapped her face and insulted her. "My dad isn't a vegetable seller." "He's not." The girl called Ling Chanqian who had handed the black bag to Yun Jian cried out in a sobbing tone as tears streamed down her cheeks. "Not. We all saw it the last time. You went home with that vegetable seller. You still say that you're not a vegetable seller's daughter, huh?" The girls surrounding Ling Chanqian became more and more arrogant and started to touch Ling Chanqian. "I really don't know how a slut like you is fit to study in our Imperial Academy, such a noble school." The leader of the girls pointed at Ling Chanqian and raised her hand, wanting to slap Ling Chanqian like before. However, just as the leader of the girls was about to slap Ling Chanqian, a pair of slender and beautiful hands successfully grabbed her wrist. Please remember the domain name of this book. Mobile reading website. Chapter 2321. Page 1/1. To an ordinary person, being drenched in the rain was very harmful to the body. Only a person who was sad or in pain would walk in the rain. However, Yun Jian was used to training in the rain. Running a few laps in the rain brought her back to the time when she was in the Inhun organization and trained with the group of kidnapped children. Back in the Inhun organization, it was a dark and gloomy day. Her daily wish was to be strong enough to live to the next day. However, it was undeniable that one's hard work was forced. The time when she was training day and night in the Inhun organization was the time when Yun Jian, as slaying god, worked the hardest to improve her skills. She only wanted to live. Ever since she left the Inhun organization, although she worked hard every day, she could not find that tenacious heart of hers. Therefore, there was another reason Yun Jian wanted to train in the rain. She wanted to find her fighting spirit in the rain. However, before Yun Jian could take a step, she heard Luo Jiejun's voice. Upon hearing that, Yun Jian narrowed her eyes and ignored him. She slung her backpack over one shoulder and ran into the rain. However, before Yun Jian could walk out, Luo Jiejun walked over to hold Yun Jian's hand, trying to stop Yun Jian from walking into the rain. Even if you don't want to think about your body as your friends, we'll be worried for you. Luo Jiejun frowned as he said that. He wanted to hold Yun Jian's hand like a hero saving a damsel in distress to stop Yun Jian from getting drenched. However, Yun Jian's eyes moved. Before Luo Jiejun's hand could touch her, she dodged to the left and avoided his touch. Hong Ling and Wei Zhe, who were standing behind Luo Jiejun, were dumbfounded. The eldest son of the Luo family, the future heir of the Luo group, the most handsome boy in the Imperial College, known as the Aloof Prince. Not only did he claim to be Yun Jian's friend, but he even took the initiative to touch a girl. Reaching out to touch a girl was something that had never happened to Luo Jiejun. Therefore, this scene dumbfounded Hong Ling and Wei Zhe. What was even more surprising was that this girl actually avoided Luo Jiejun's touch. Didn't she know that she was the first girl in the world who could make Luo Jiejun take the initiative to hold her hand? In the dark, Wei Min clenched her fists. Her fingernails dug deep into her flesh. Her knuckles turned white because she used too much force. Wei Lin. Wei Min yelled out almost immediately. After yelling, she twisted her face and stared at Yun Jian with a fake smile for 2 seconds. Then, she suppressed her anger and looked at Yun Jian with the attitude of a good sister. Wei Lin, how can you be so impolite? Brother Jiejun is doing this for your own good. He doesn't want you to go out and catch a cold. Wei Min clenched her teeth and forced herself to change her tone into a normal one as she spoke to Yun Jian. After saying this, Yun Jian glanced at Wei Min from the corner of her eyes. Just as she was about to walk into the rain again. I haven't thanked you yet. My name is Ling Qianshan. We can be friends. Ling Qianshan suddenly ran to Yun Jian and said to Yun Jian. But when Ling Qianshan ran to Yun Jian and said this to Yun Jian, she suddenly saw a figure stumbling over in the rain. The figure staggered over with a limp. He was wearing a bamboo hat on his head and a straw raincoat on his body. He was also holding a worn-out umbrella in his hand. When this person saw Ling Qianshan, he grinned and ran over even faster. Qianshan. Qianshan, it's raining. Dad remembered that you didn't bring an umbrella this morning, so Dad brought an umbrella over. The man limped to the front of the crowd and handed Ling Qianshan the worn-out umbrella in his arms. Ling Qianshan suddenly got angry. She flung the shabby umbrella that the person handed to her to the ground. She cried and roared, "Didn't I tell you not to come to school to pick me up? Do you think I haven't made a fool of myself enough? Get out. Get out of here." Translator, Atlas Studios Editor, Atlas Studios. Chapter 23-22. Page 1/1. Yun Jian clearly saw the old man wearing a tattered straw raincoat and a bamboo hat limping towards them. When he handed the umbrella to Ling Qianshan with a simple and honest smile, Ling Qianshan's lips suddenly stiffened. The old man who delivered the umbrella was none other than the old man who bought pickled vegetables that Yun Jian often met at the market. The old man obviously had a child when he was old. He had a daughter like Ling Qianshan, so he was usually very protective of her. To be honest, the old man was wearing a straw raincoat and a bamboo hat. When he walked into the Imperial Noble Academy, which was considered one of the top-notch academies in the country, there was a strong sense of incongruity. But the old man's honest expression made people unable to scold him. But when Ling Qianshan saw this old man, it was as if her expression changed completely. Just a moment ago she was still trying to curry favor with Yun Jian, but in an instant her expression changed completely. "No, Dad didn't want to come, but Qianshan, you forgot to bring an umbrella this morning? Dad was afraid that you would catch a cold in the rain. Take the umbrella, Dad will leave now, Dad will leave now." The old man was wearing a straw raincoat and a bamboo hat. He looked like he had walked a long way to deliver the umbrella. Looking at the little white note that Ling Qianshan wrote, The old man fell this morning and didn't even have the strength to set up a stall at the market. But he still mustered up the courage to walk so long just to deliver the umbrella to his daughter, not wanting her to get wet. Seeing his daughter throw the tattered umbrella he handed to her to the ground, the old man still had a simple and honest smile on his face. He bent down and picked up the umbrella from the ground. Because the old man was old, it would only take a few seconds for a young man to bend down and pick up the umbrella. However, it took the old man more than 20 seconds to suppress the pain in his spine. He picked up the umbrella and stuffed it into Ling Qianshan's hands. He then turned around and staggered out of the place in a sorry state. "Hey look, isn't this our classmate Ling Qianshan? What's wrong? Your old father is here to pick you up from school. Aren't you going home with your father?" There were many people walking back and forth in the teaching building. At that moment, a girl walked past Ling Qianshan and glanced at the old man who was wearing a straw raincoat and a bamboo hat. She used her usual mocking tone to mock Ling Qianshan. After saying that, the two girls stopped and looked at Ling Qianshan with a smile. Obviously, these two girls often use such words to provoke Ling Qianshan. "I'm not Qianshan's father, I'm not. I'm just here to deliver an umbrella on behalf of Qianshan's parents." The old man hurriedly tried to save his daughter's face after hearing what the two girls said. Because he was in a hurry, the old man didn't even notice Yun Jian standing next to him. This old man said that he's not Ling Qianshan's father. The two girls who passed by said in a cold tone. Ling Qianshan was originally afraid that her classmates would find out that her father was a vegetable seller. Now that she was caught red-handed and provoked with such words, she subconsciously threw the umbrella at the old grandpa, covered her ears and shouted at the old grandpa, "Grandpa! Scram! Scram! I don't want your umbrella! Scram!" She couldn't stop her tears from falling. "You're still angry, huh?" The two girls who passed by heard that and mocked again. The old man stood in the rain and awkwardly didn't know if he should bend down to pick up the umbrella on the ground. He just wanted to deliver an umbrella for his daughter, but why did it seem like he had made a huge mistake? It was then that Yun Jian tugged the two girls who were passing by and pushed them aside to taunt Ling Qianshan. Seeing this, Luo Jiejun narrowed his eyes. However, just when Luo Jiejun and the others thought that Yun Jian was being kind and wanted to help Ling Qianshan vent her anger on the two girls who passed by, they saw Yun Jian standing in front of Ling Qianshan in front of everyone and then slapped Ling Qianshan's face. This sudden slap startled everyone present. Translator, Henyi Translations Editor, Henyi Translations. Chapter 23-23. No, Weilin, are you kidding me? Why did you hit her? Hong Ling saw Yun Jian's action and was shocked. Why did Yun Jian slap Ling Qianshan? This was obviously not Ling Qianshan's fault. This matter was clearly the fault of those gossipers. But Yun Jian actually slapped Ling Qianshan? Are you kidding me? Even Luo Jiejun, Wei Zhe and Wei Min were shocked by Yun Jian's action. Logically speaking, Yun Jian should not have slapped Ling Qianshan. Moreover, Ling Qianshan was forced. Did Yun Jian not see Ling Qianshan's tears? Luo Jiejun saw Yun Jian's action and narrowed his eyes. If it were him, he would definitely warn the two girls who bullied Ling Qianshan. But Yun Jian, this is getting more and more interesting. Wei Lin, the youngest daughter of the Wei family, you've really impressed me. Luo Jiejun narrowed his eyes. However, just as Luo Jiejun narrowed his eyes, Yun Jian's cold voice suddenly sounded. She's the one I slapped. Yun Jian slapped Ling Qianshan. At this moment, Ling Qianshan was covering her swollen face from Yun Jian's slap. She looked dispirited. Qianshan. The old grandpa was a little heartbroken that his daughter was slapped by Yun Jian. However, he stretched out his hand, afraid that if he stretched out his hand to help his daughter in the academy, his daughter would hate him again. So, the old grandpa did not stretch out his hand. Qianshan, Dad is useless, Dad is useless. If only Dad could let you live a good life, it's Dad's fault. The old grandpa stood in the rain and looked at Ling Qianshan sadly. His mood had hit rock bottom. He could not forget his daughter shouting at him, "Why aren't you rich? If you don't have money, why must you force me to study in an aristocratic academy?" Ling Qianshan relied on her own ability to waive the tuition fees to enter the Imperial College. She didn't want to come because she wouldn't be able to get any attention in such a place where only the children of rich families studied. Ling Qianshan was forced to come by her father. She said that after she went to an elite school, the people she met in the future would be different. However, even the old man himself did not expect his daughter to be in such a situation. "Do you know why I hit you?" Amidst the silence, Yun Jian's voice rang abruptly, accompanied by the pitter-patter of the rain. These words were directed at Ling Qianshan. Ling Qianshan looked listless and did not reply. Because you're very happy. So happy that it's enviable. Yun Jian's words rang out again in the next second. After hearing this, Ling Qianshan, the old man Luo Jiejun, and the others were dumbfounded. Was Yun Jian dumbfounded? She actually said that Ling Qianshan was happy? One must know that Ling Qianshan's family background was the worst in the Royal Academy. Happy? Ling Qianshan was stunned as well. She raised her head and looked at Yun Jian. However, she saw Yun Jian continue speaking to Ling Qianshan in front of everyone with an expressionless face. Compared to the world I live in, you're a child kissed by God. You're so happy that it's enviable. At this point, Luo Jiejun and the others stared at Yun Jian. Yun Jian paused and stretched out her hands to draw a red arc in front of everyone, as if recalling a shocking scene. She continued to speak in front of everyone. I'm sorry, but I'm sorry, but I'm sorry, but I'm sorry. Do you know that in the world I live in, as long as you dare? Please remember the domain name of this book. Mobile reading website. Chapter 23-24. Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation, page 1/1. Yun Jian's nonchalant speech was devoid of any emotion, but it was accompanied by the sound of rain. It was enough to shock everyone present like they were struck by lightning. As soon as she said this, everyone present took a few deep breaths, stunned on the spot. Yun Jian said. What? Everyone present knew about Yun Jian's background. She was the Wei family's youngest daughter, Wei Lin, who had been lost for 10 years. As for the Wei family's youngest daughter, Wei Lin, who had been lost for 10 years, where she had gone, what she had done, and how she had been found, no one present knew. Because of this, when Luo Jiejun, Wei Min, and the other three heard Yun Jian's words, they were all stunned for a moment. If you want to live, your hands must be stained with blood? These words deeply touched Luo Jiejun and the others. Yun Jian's past life was even worse than Ling Qianshan, who had the worst family in the Imperial Academy and was often ridiculed by her classmates. This made Luo Jiejun's brows knit even tighter. What kind of past did she have? You. At this moment, although Ling Qianshan was still squatting on the ground, she had already raised her head to look at Yun Jian. Her face, which had stopped crying, was pale, but more than that, she was shocked. You should be glad that you're still alive. Why do you care about other people's opinions? If I did what you did, there would be many people in this world who would want me to die. If I was as decadent as you, I would have lost my life long ago. Yun Jian interrupted Ling Qianshan before she could say anything. After that, she didn't want to talk to Ling Qianshan anymore. Is the father who raised you more important, or is your worthless dignity more important? You better think carefully. With that, she turned around and slung her shoulder bag over her left shoulder, stepping into the rain that was neither heavy nor light. After Yun Jian left, Ling Qianshan was completely silent. She sat on the ground and thought for a long time. Yun Jian's actions really shocked Luo Jiejun and the others. Especially Luo Jiejun. Watching Yun Jian walk into the rain, Luo Jiejun narrowed his eyes on his rather handsome face. This scene caused Wei Min to clench her fists again. She was so angry that her entire body trembled, and even the corners of her mouth twitched incessantly. However, just as Wei Min was so angry that her entire body was twitching, Luo Jiejun lifted his leg and actually followed Yun Jian's footsteps into the distance. He did not even open his umbrella and chased after her. Yun Jian was about to reach the entrance of the academy when she was suddenly stopped. Wei Lin. Without even turning his head, he could tell from the voice that the person who came was none other than Luo Jiejun. But Yun Jian didn't stop. Unexpectedly, Luo Jiejun jogged over to Yun Jian. After taking 2 deep breaths, he said to Yun Jian, "Tell me, where have you been for the past 10 years? The moment Luo Jiejun caught up, Wei Zhe, Wei Min and Hong Ling also caught up. As the school hunk of the Imperial Academy, this was the first time Luo Jiejun had chased after a girl in the rain. Wei Zhe and Hong Ling were completely dumbfounded. And what made Yun Jian's nominal brother, Wei Zhe, even more shocked was what Yun Jian had just said. What kind of past did she go through? However, just as Luo Jiejun asked Yun Jian this question, Yun Jian only coldly glanced at Luo Jiejun and wanted to walk around him to walk out of the academy. There were many students walking around the academy, so Yun Jian couldn't start jogging even if she wanted to. Seeing that Yun Jian was about to leave, Luo Jiejun directly blocked Yun Jian's path and said to Yun Jian, "Even if you don't say it, I can understand your pain." These words were rather ambiguous. The moment he said this, Wei Zhe and Hong Ling were even more shocked. Not only was this the first time Luo Jiejun was so concerned about a girl, but what was even more shocking was that this girl was his biological sister who had been separated from him for 10 years, Wei Lin. Wei Zhe was stunned. Needless to say, Wei Min's expression was obvious. However, just as Luo Jiejun, Wei Zhe, Hongling and Wei Min stared at Yun Jian, waiting for Yun Jian to explain her whereabouts all these years, in the rain, Yun Jian suddenly pulled out a faint and cold smile and said in front of everyone, "If I say that I was kidnapped by an assassin organization, would you believe me?" Translator, Atlas Studios Editor, Atlas Studios. Chapter 23-25. Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. If I told you that I was kidnapped by an assassin organization, would you believe me? Yun Jian's words stunned Luo Jiejun, Hongling, Wei Zhe, and Wei Min. Assassin organization. Kidnapped her? That, to Luo Jiejun, Hongling, Wei Zhe and Wei Min, an assassin organization was an unreachable existence. It was an existence that Luo Jiejun and the other three did not even dare to think about. Hence, after hearing Yun Jian's words, the four of them were stunned. After regaining his senses, Luo Jiejun's eyes darkened, but he did not seem to believe Yun Jian's words. What? Lin, how can you say such things? Be careful that the assassin organization really kidnaps you. That assassin organization is a place to train assassins. How could you? Alright, this is unrealistic, let's not talk about it. Lin, let's go home. Wei Min naturally did not believe Yun Jian's words, but she saw that after hearing Yun Jian's words, Luo Jiejun's eyes changed, even though he did not believe Yun Jian's words. That gaze clearly showed that he was more interested in Yun Jian. Wei Min was a woman, so she could naturally tell what Luo Jiejun's gaze meant when he looked at Yun Jian. Wei Min was angry just now and originally wanted to call Yun Jian by her name, but after considering her image she changed her words and reached out to grab Yun Jian's hand. Yun Jian dodged to the side and looked at everyone coldly. If you don't believe me, then don't ask any more. After saying that, she slung her backpack over her shoulder and left in a flash. She was so fast that Luo Jiejun and the rest could not turn back in time. Even so, Luo Jiejun was more and more interested in Yun Jian. At that moment, Luo Jiejun narrowed his eyes and looked at Yun Jian's back as she left. This is getting more and more interesting. Wei Lin, your every move, every word, and every action are truly different from the rest. It's unforgettable. It was 9:30 p.m. The Wei family members usually had a normal schedule. 9:30 p.m. was very early for night cats, but for the Wei family who were used to sleeping early and waking up early, it was already very late. The Wei family was ready to go to bed at 8 o'clock in the evening. At that moment, Yun Jian got up from her bed and walked out of her room. Yun Jian's steps were very light. She didn't even make the slightest sound as she walked through the Wei residence's corridors, stairs and living room. After leaving the gate of the Wei family's villa, Yun Jian quickly disappeared in the night light. At this moment, in the kitchen of the Wei family villa, Wei Min had just fallen asleep when she suddenly felt thirsty. Half asleep, she went downstairs to get some water. However, just as she poured the water, she saw a black figure flashing through the window in the distance. That person, isn't that Wei Lin? So late. Why is she sneaking out? Wei Min, who was still sleepy, suddenly woke up. She quickly ran to the door to change her shoes, took her phone and chased after Yun Jian. Before she chased in the direction Yun Jian had left, Wei Min made a call. Hello, is this Brother Hongling? Let me tell you, I just woke up and was thirsty when I went downstairs to drink some water. Then I saw my sister go out in the middle of the night. I'm worried about her, so can you come with me? After Yun Jian left the Wei residence, she came to a relatively lively area near the Wei residence. A yellow Corvette sports car was parked in front of her. Yun Jian walked forward, opened the yellow Corvette sports car and got in. The car quickly started the engine and left the place. Top reading website, M. Chapter 23-26. Page 1/1. It was only after Yun Jian left that a figure popped out from the bushes. Looking closely, wasn't this person Wei Min? Wei Min was currently holding her phone and talking to Hong Ling on the other end of the phone while looking at the yellow Corvette sports car that Yun Jian was in. Hey, I'm still here. I didn't hang up. I was looking at my sister just now. She's in a yellow sports car. It's really cool, I think it's the latest Corvette sports car. Brother Hong Ling, I'm just worried about my sister. I'm afraid that she's hiding something from us. That's why I contacted you to follow her and take a look. Yes, I'm at Huangjiang Road now. I've called a taxi. I'll send you the location later. Come over quickly." As Wei Min spoke, she flagged down a passing taxi and got in before ordering the driver to follow the yellow Corvette sports car. Inside the yellow Corvette sports car, Yun Jian was in the front passenger seat. Qingyu was in the driver's seat. Qingyu was currently driving the yellow Corvette sports car, cruising slowly on the road. "Have you found anything?" Yun Jian asked. "The information is here. It's the boss of Country T's underground black market who sent someone to assassinate you," Qingyu said as she turned the steering wheel. Yun Jian narrowed her eyes at that. She flipped through the information in her hand manually before tossing it into the back seat of the sports car. When the information was tossed to the back seat, it drew a beautiful arc and landed firmly on the back seat. "Sister Jian, what do you want to do?" Qingyu turned the steering wheel and whistled as she asked. "I'll leave it to you." Her words determined a person's fate. Yun Jian closed her eyes. The boss of Country T's underground black market had sent someone to assassinate her because Yun Jian had killed Xian Yu in Marilena's tomb back then. To Yun Jian this was just a small fry, nothing more. "Okay." Qingyu held the steering wheel with one hand and snapped her fingers with the other, looking relaxed and happy. "Sister Jian, the three of them are waiting for you at a coffee shop in front. They'll be here soon," Qingyu added. Yun Jian responded softly. It was then that Qingyu narrowed her eyes and whistled again before saying in a playful tone, "You're right. Yo, you're still continuing after following me for so long? Sister Jian, should I shake off the taxi that's been tailing us?" Qingyu had already noticed that a taxi was following her sports car unhurriedly. Yun Jian had naturally noticed as well. "Let her do as she pleases." Yun Jian pursed her lips and narrowed her eyes. Wei Min, who was sitting in the taxi behind, had already hung up the phone. She was staring at the yellow sports car in front with a pair of eyes that could stare people to death. After a while, the yellow sports car turned a corner in her line of sight and parked in a downtown coffee shop. Wei Min could not help rolling her eyes at Yun Jian inwardly. Wei Lin could actually sit in a high-end sports car. It meant that she must be a mistress of a rich man. Or perhaps she used to be someone's mistress. After all, she had been missing for 10 years. When an 8-year-old girl was picked up by someone, most of the time, it was with the intention of getting something out of her. It was even like in television dramas where a little girl who had been lost for 10 years was taken away to be a prostitute. She had to entertain customers every day and was even ravaged by dozens of men. Wei Min thought that the owner of the car Yun Jian was in was the man who had taken care of or ravaged Yun Jian in the past. Just as Wei Min thought about it, the person in the car alighted. Yun Jian got out of the car. From the driver's seat, a teenage girl got out. Wei Min was stunned when she saw that it was not a plump middle-aged man who got down from the driver's seat. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. Chapter 23-27. Soon, Wei Min saw Yun Jian and the girl walking into a coffee shop one after another. Yun Jian walked in front while the girl trailed behind. Moreover, the girl was following Yun Jian like she was facing her superior. Wei Min was stunned by the sight before a flash of annoyance washed over her. Wei Lin must be the mistress of a rich mogul. The mogul must be so fat that one would feel nauseous just by looking at him. The girl behind her should be the mogul's woman. Once she thought about it, Wei Min was infuriated. She was no longer a clean woman. Why did she come back to the Wei family? She even seduced her Jejun Gij. Although Wei Min was angry in her heart, she still forcefully suppressed her anger. She had contacted Hong Ling just now. Once the girl arrived, she would rush in with her. If it was Yun Jian who met the middle-aged man with the beer belly, not only could she expose Yun Jian's facade on the spot, but she would also bring Wei Min along with her. She would tell Luo Jejun the next day that Hong Ling would not lie. Even if Luo Jejun did not believe that Yun Jian was a prostitute, he had to believe it. In the corner of the coffee shop, a screen blocked the view from the entrance. Yun Jian and Qingyu came in and saw Diani, Guilian and Guiyan. Sister Jian. All three of them greeted in unison when they saw Yun Jian. Diani, Guilian and Guiyan were the leaders of the Kosha mercenaries intelligence team, assassination team and intelligence team. The three of them were here to report to Yun Jian what happened after they eliminated Reverse Emperor. There were some things that the Kosha mercenaries could handle on their own, but a lot of important matters had to go through Yun Jian. Hence, Diani, Guilian and Guiyan had to hand it over to Yun Jian personally. Cut the chatter. Speak. Yun Jian sat on a chair in front of the trio and spoke with narrowed eyes. Diane and the other two answered quickly. Outside the coffee shop. Wei Min finally waited for Hong Ling, but she didn't expect Hong Ling to bring Luo Jiejun along. Wei Min originally thought that if Yun Jian didn't meet with the middle-aged man who kept her, then wouldn't she? In spite of it, Wei Min shook her head, thinking that it was great that her handsome brother was here. If Yun Jian was really meeting the middle-aged man who was her sugar daddy, her handsome brother would probably lose interest in her after witnessing it with his own eyes. She's inside. I'm afraid that my sister has something she can't say, so? Wei Min still wanted to put on a show. But Luo Jiejun didn't wait for her to finish speaking and walked into the coffee shop. With that dark face, those who didn't know would think that Luo Jiejun was here to catch them in the act. In fact, Luo Jiejun had heard about Yun Jian from Hong Ling, so he also thought that Yun Jian had abandoned herself to come out in the middle of the night to fool around with men. He wanted to ask her personally why she had fallen so low when she was still so good at teaching others. So Luo Jiejun ignored Wei Min and walked straight into the coffee shop. Just as he entered the coffee shop, he bumped into Yun Jian. Seeing this, Luo Jiejun asked directly, "Who are you meeting with?" Because there was a screen, Luo Jiejun couldn't see the person inside. Yun Jian didn't look surprised when she saw Luo Jiejun. At that time, Luo Jiejun couldn't hear Yun Jian's response. He walked past Yun Jian and the screen angrily. Wei Min and Hong Ling followed after seeing this. Unexpectedly, just as the three of them thought that they would see a fat man with a big belly in front of them, Luo Jiejun, Hong Ling, and Wei Min's mouths were suddenly covered. The three of them were shocked. What kind of person could be so fast? To be able to subdue them so quickly. Just as they were about to struggle, there was a sudden cracking sound in their heads. Diane and the other two subdued Luo Jiejun and the other two. 3 bright muzzles were placed on Luo Jiejun and the other two's heads. At that time, Yun Jian retreated behind the screen. This was a place where outsiders couldn't see. She glanced sideways at Luo Jiejun and the other two. Then, in front of the three of them, as their pupils constricted, she sneered. "You came uninvited? Do you think you've lived for too long?" Please remember the domain name of this book. Mobile reading website. Chapter 23-28. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. The sudden turn of events caught Luo Jiejun, Hong Ling, and Wei Min off guard. Luo Jiejun, Hong Ling, and Wei Min reacted abruptly before they heard Yun Jian's sharp and cold voice and saw that Yun Jian had already appeared before them. The eyes of the three sunk, and a trace of fear flashed across their faces. In an instant, 3 people pointed their guns at their heads. Obviously, the strength of those 3 people was stronger than them. They were so strong that they could not even react in time. And the most frightening thing wasn't the sudden appearance of 3 people behind the large screen in the coffee shop, nor was it the fact that these 3 people were armed with pistols. It was, these 3 people who were armed with guns and were so skilled seemed to be Yun Jian's subordinates. When Yun Jian finished, Luo Jiejun, Hong Ling, and Wei Min froze. Especially Wei Min. Wei Min had wanted to get hold of Yun Jian's weakness, thinking that Yun Jian was negotiating with a plump middle-aged man and could possibly find out where she had gone and what she had done in the past 10 years that they had been separated from. In the end, not only did they fail to find out where Yun Jian had gone and what Yun Jian had done in the past 10 years, they even had a gun pointed at their heads. Wei Min's face turned pale. She was so scared that she shivered. Their mouths were muffled by Diane, Hong Ling, and Hong Ling, while Luo Jiejun was looking at Yun Jian with a scrutinizing frown. He looked like he was interrogating Yun Jian. "Are we going to kill them?" Qing Yu asked as she followed Yun Jian from behind the screen in the coffee shop to stand behind Yun Jian. Qing Yu, Diane, and Hong Ling knew that Yun Jian's current identity was the Wei family's youngest daughter, Wei Lin, so Qing Yu did not address Yun Jian as Sister Jian in front of Luo Jiejun, Hong Ling, and Hong Ling. The plain words "kill them" made Luo Jiejun, Hong Ling, and Wei Min's heart skip a beat. Luo Jiejun, Hong Ling, and Hong Ling also saw that Diane, Guilian, and Guiyan, who were holding them down, nodded at Qing Yu when she came out from behind the screen. It looked like they were nodding at their superiors. That was the truth. Qing Yu was an elder in the kosher mercenaries, so her status was higher than Diane, Hong Ling, and Hong Ling. Yun Jian's brow arched when she heard what Qing Yu said. Then she curled her red lips and gave a single order: kill. The next day, Luo Jiejun woke up groggily on his bed. Luo Jiejun reached out to rub his hair. Putting aside the other faults, Luo Jiejun really did have some fresh and handsome looks. Yesterday. After Luo Jiejun grabbed his hair, he suddenly recalled the scene that happened last night. but in his memories those scenes were so unreal. Luo Jejun went downstairs and grabbed his school bag. He didn't even have time to eat the breakfast prepared by the servants at home and ran to school. He went straight to Yun Jian's classroom as soon as he entered the school. Yun Jian was sitting in her seat. It's Jun Xiao. Am I seeing things? It's Jun Xiao. He's so handsome. Why is Jun Xiao in our classroom? When the surrounding girls suddenly saw Luo Jejun's figure, their sharp voices almost rose from their throats. The girls shrieked. Before they could finish screaming, Luo Jejun walked up to Yun Jian and looked at Yun Jian with an interrogating expression. He then reached out to grab Yun Jian's wrist. Who knew that when Luo Jejun reached out to grab Yun Jian's wrist, Yun Jian dodged to the side and grabbed her desk mate Luo Jechen, who was sleeping on the desk, by his collar and tossed him into Luo Jejun's arms, preventing him from touching him. Luo Jechen was speechless. Who am I? Where am I? What am I doing? Luo Jejun held Luo Jechen up and stared at Yun Jian. He then questioned Yun Jian in front of everyone in class and the girls. What the hell happened last night? Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. Chapter 23-29. Luo Jejun was originally a celebrity in the Imperial College. None of the students who studied in the Imperial College didn't know him. Moreover, 80% of the girls in the school secretly had a crush on Luo Jejun. The other 20% were divided among the other school hunks. Seeing this, Luo Jejun had caused a storm as soon as he arrived in Yun Jian's classroom. And what made the girls even more shocked was that Luo Jejun actually walked directly to Yun Jian's seat. The 4 words "last night" made the group of crazy Luo Jejun fans in Yun Jian's class scream to the peak when they heard it. The young master of the Luo family, Luo Jejun, had stayed away from the girls since he entered the school. It was even said that the young master of the Luo family, Luo Jejun, didn't have a good impression of girls at all. But today Luo Jejun walked directly to Yun Jian and said such shocking words. It made everyone present feel that something happened between Yun Jian and Luo Jejun last night. Young Master Jun didn't just come to our class as Wei Lin. Did something happen between them last night? It's so exciting and explosive. I'm so envious. When will I be able to get young Master Jun's attention like this? That Wei Lin must have accumulated a few lifetimes worth of fortune to have young Master Jun personally come to our class. Young Master Jun even took the initiative to reach out and hold her hand. Young Master Jun is so handsome, ah. I'm about to be charmed to death, ah. The surrounding girls brought the atmosphere to the climax. At this moment, Luo Jechen had already reacted. He suddenly realized that he was lying in his big brother's arms after waking up. He was so shocked that he suddenly jumped up. Damn, big brother, why are you here? What the hell? Why are you looking for Wei Lin? Is your phone broken and you need Wei Lin to help you fix it? That's not right, your pocket money wasn't deducted by your family? Luo Jechen was stunned after he reacted and said in shock. At this time, Luo Jejun didn't reply to Luo Jechen. He just stared at Yun Jian as if he wanted to find the answer to his question from Yun Jian. Just now Yun Jian was still flipping through the textbook. When she saw Luo Jejun reaching out to grab her wrist, she dodged to the side and directly pulled Luo Jechen's collar and stuffed him into Luo Jejun's arms. At this time she was still sitting in her seat and flipping through the textbook. Yun Jian pressed her lips together at Luo Jejun's words. She did not even look up as she spoke to him calmly. Last night? Don't tell me you've overdone it and got hallucinations. You should go to the hospital for treatment. After saying that, she didn't even raise her eyes. This Wei Lin really doesn't know what's good for her. Ises's Hala, Test. Is, hers, Teat? SSS. Onzan. Is. Of Yun Yuan's. The surrounding girls also started to talk to each other. This had no effect on Yun Jian at all. She actually said that he was hallucinating? Luo Jejun scratched his head. He wasn't spouting nonsense. Yesterday really did seem like a dream, but why did that dream feel so real? Did I really make a mistake? Luo Jejun suddenly asked. As he spoke, he shook his head and did not speak to Yun Jian again. He turned around and walked out slowly. What's wrong with that? Big brother, are you having a wet dream? Seeing that Luo Jejun suddenly reacted and walked out, Luo Jechen smiled and shouted at Luo Jejun from behind. The girls in the class were also shocked when they saw Luo Jejun's reaction. What was going on? At that time, in a place where no one could see, Yun Jian's slightly raised smile flashed past in an instant and disappeared without a trace. Please remember the domain name of this book. Mobile version of reading website, M. Chapter 2330. Luo Jiejun and the other two couldn't die. That was why Yun Jian only ordered Dai Ani and the other two to knock Luo Jiejun and the other two unconscious. After that, Yun Jian hypnotized Luo Jiejun and the other two, making what happened last night seem like a dream to Luo Jiejun and the other two. Hypnotism was extensive and profound, so it was still possible to do something like this. At night, school was over as usual. As soon as she walked out of the classroom, a cheerful figure ran towards her. It was a girl with a smile on her face. After the girl passed a black bag to Yun Jian, she flashed a wide grin at Yun Jian and said, "Hey Yun Jian. Thank you. Thank you so much. I've already thought it through. You're right, of course my dad's and my so-called worthless dignity is more important than my dad's. Who cares what other people think? My mom and dad were already old when they gave birth to me. My mom unfortunately passed away, so it was my dad who brought me up. Everything I have was given to me by my dad. What can those people who mocked and ridiculed me give me? Why should I care so much about what they think? Let them say what they want. I'm living very well now. My dad will come and pick me up from school today. In the future, he'll send me to school before going to the market to sell vegetables." That's right, the person who came was Ling Chanshan, who smashed the old man's umbrella and cried in the rain yesterday. She didn't expect that after just one night she had already thought it through. "So this is my reward?" Yun Jian lifted the pickled cabbage in her hand and said to Ling Chanshan with narrowed eyes. "That's right. Although this isn't anything precious, you know my family's financial situation. Haha, when I graduate and earn a lot of money, I'll treat you to a big meal." Ling Chanshan nodded. Ling Chanshan, who had thought it through, was clearly much more optimistic. "Then I'll accept it without hesitation." Yun Jian lifted the pickled cabbage in the black bag and carried her bag with her other hand. She slung the bag over her shoulder and turned to leave the school. At this moment, Ling Chanshan didn't know that after she graduated and started working, she would never be able to contact Yun Jian again. Perhaps many years later Ling Chanshan could still recall Yun Jian, but Yun Jian's appearance in her memory was already a blur in her heart. She could only rely on her memories. She could vaguely remember Yun Jian's always calm and indifferent face with a slight smile. That face was a face that changed her life. In a person's life they would meet many people. Schoolmates, travelers, people from the same city, people from different countries. When they parted, they would never meet again, they would never meet again in their lifetime, they would never even have a Waze contact's contact. If you carefully think about it, you would have remembered many people's faces to think. But perhaps the other party didn't leave a deep impression on you, so you simply ignored them. After Yun left the schools to go. As soon as she arrived, she saw Luo Jiejun, Luo Jiechen, Hong Ling, Wei Zhe and Wei Min. There were many dining tables in the Wei family's hall. It looked like they were going to hold a small party. They had even invited some rich families and their children to attend tonight's small party. Seeing this, Yun Jian walked past them and was about to go upstairs. But at this moment, a 16 or 17-year-old girl dressed like a doll princess suddenly stood in front of Yun Jian. She stared at Yun Jian with a proud expression and said in front of Wei Min and the others, "This is the Wei family's youngest daughter, Wei Lin, who was found after being missing for 10 years. Please remember the domain name of this book. Mobile version of reading website." Chapter 2331. This young girl, who was dressed as delicately as a doll, spoke with the arrogance that only a princess would have. That was something that outsiders could never learn. At that moment, the young girl was examining Yun Jian with a probing gaze. It was as if a high and mighty princess was looking at a commoner. However, before Yun Jian could say anything, the young girl said, "You're quite pretty, but don't you have any ideas about my big brother? Let me tell you, my future sister-in-law can only be Sister Min. Luo Lanlan, if you say another word, you'll scram home immediately." Just as the young girl finished speaking, a furious voice sounded. Luo Jiejun looked at the young girl with a warning expression and spoke. Suddenly hearing her big brother's voice, the young girl named Luo Lanlan was stunned. Then she pouted and continued, "It's true. I like Sister Min." This young girl, who was dressed like a doll, was called Luo Lanlan. She was Luo Jiejun and Luo Jiechen's biological sister. After hearing Luo Jiejun's words, although Luo Lanlan was unwilling, she still twitched the corner of her mouth and resisted. When Wei Min heard Luo Lanlan's words, she was happy for a moment. Even if it was just a little bit related to Luo Jejun, Wei Min would still be very excited. However, on the surface, Wei Min still had to pretend to be a very good sister. She coughed, then pulled Luo Lanlan's hand and said, Lanlan's sister Min likes you too. But Lin is also my sister. She left home for more than 10 years and has no one to rely on outside. I feel very sad. I don't know what kind of life she's living outside. As she spoke, Wei Min wiped the corners of her eyes that did not have any tears at all. Sister Min, you're so nice. It's Big Brother's fortune to have married you. Luo Lanlan was a very gullible young girl. She really believed Wei Min's words. At that time Yun Jian did not say anything. As soon as Luo Lanlan and Wei Min spoke, she walked past them and went upstairs. Seeing Yun Jian going upstairs, Luo Jejun wanted to chase after her, but was stopped by Luo Lanlan. Therefore Luo Jejun could only watch as Yun Jian went upstairs. In his heart, he thought that he must secretly go up and find Yun Jian later. Yun Jian didn't want to attend the Wei family's small party at all. She planned to go back to her room and sleep. Just as he opened the door to his room and closed the door, a black shadow suddenly pounced on him. After the black shadow pounced on him, he closed the door with a click. In the next second, the shadow wrapped her in his arms. Yun Jian also felt a familiar aura, so she let him go. Xiao Jian. Siyi's voice rang as expected. Didn't you go to the God's continent? Yun Jian was just about to ask. Siyi covered Yun Jian's mouth and pressed Yun Jian against the door, kissing her for a few minutes. After the kiss, Siyi had taken off her clothes and pants, leaving only her underwear. Then, someone pressed Yun Jian against the door and went straight to the point. Outside the corridor, Luo Jejun, who had finally managed to avoid his younger sister Luo Lanlan and Wei Min, was searching Yun Jian's room one by one. Luo Jejun had asked Wei Zhe about Yun Jian's room just now, so he was confident when he came looking for her. Luo Jejun had just arrived outside the room he and Yun Jian were staying in. Delighted, he was going to knock on the door. However, the door shook a few times as if someone was doing something unspeakable on the door. Then, a moan rang in the room. Please remember the domain name of this book. Mobile reading website. Chapter 2332. Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation, page 1/1. That light breathing sound, which could not be heard clearly if one did not listen carefully, was Luo Jejun's eyelids twitched violently as if he had been electrocuted, his whole body trembling. Wasn't the sound coming from Wei Lin's room? This sound, coupled with the door that was shaking. Luo Jejun's brows furrowed tightly at the same time. He walked over with his heart in his mouth. Wei Lin. The moment he furrowed his brows, Luo Jejun rushed towards the shaking door almost at the same time. Wei Lin, are you in there? Can you answer me? Luo Jejun's first thought was that there was a guest from the Wei family downstairs dragging Yun Jian into the room and forcing himself on her. In reality, Luo Jejun's guess was right. Inside, Siyi was staring at Yun Jian, who only bloomed for him with a pair of starry eyes. He had one hand on the door and the other on her slender waist, pressing Yun Jian against the door and doing something shameful. The knocking and shouting outside the door reached Siyi's ears. Hearing this, Siyi's eyes flashed sharply, a murderous intent flashed in his eyes, and his movements became faster and more violent. Yun Jian covered her mouth, almost moaning loudly. She almost couldn't hold it in, but his face was still calm, as if she was the only one doing this, and he was just watching from the side. Outside the room, Luo Jejun was about to break down. Luo Jejun, the eldest son of the Luo family, finally had an interest in a girl, but that girl was now being pressed against the door. Thinking of this, Luo Jejun felt like he was going crazy. Wei Lin. Luo Jejun knocked on the door for a while. This knocking attracted Luo Lanlan and Wei Min, who were looking for Luo Jejun, who had just realized that he was missing and came over. Brother Jejun, why are you here? When Wei Min saw that Luo Jejun had just shaken her off and actually went to Yun Jian's boudoir, her anger was ignited in an instant. Do you have the key to your sister Wei Lin's bedroom? Open the door. Luo Jejun asked loudly almost at the same time when he saw Wei Min. Wei Min had known Luo Jejun for a long time, but this was the first time she saw Luo Jejun looking at her with such a nervous expression. One had to know that Luo Jejun, the most popular guy in Imperial College, was the future successor of Luo's group. Even if the sky fell, Luo Jejun would never panic. But today Luo Jejun was actually standing at the door of that little bitch Wei Lin's bedroom and shouting at her. Disgust flashed through Wei Min's heart. She clenched her fists, but considering that she had to show off in front of Luo Jejun, Wei Min turned around to get the keys. About 5 minutes later Wei Min came back with a key. This is the key to Lin Er's room. Brother Jejun, what happened to Lin? Wei Min hesitated to give the key to Luo Jejun. Luo Jejun did not even look at Wei Min. He walked over and took the key from Wei Min's hand. Brother, what's wrong with you? Sister Minna is worried about you, so she hurriedly dragged me to look for you. Why are you still treating Sister Minna like this? Even Luo Jejun's sister, Luo Lanlan, pursed her lips and said unhappily. But Luo Jejun was thinking about Yun Jian at this moment. He could not be bothered with his sister and Wei Min at all. He inserted the key into Yun Jian's bedroom door and twisted it open. Luo Jejun could not wait to open the door when he suddenly saw, translator, Atlas Studios editor, Atlas Studios. Chapter 2333. Page 1/1. The moment the door opened, Yun Jian was standing at the entrance. She wore a long shirt that ended at her knees, the loose-fitting garment covering her alluring figure. Her hair was damp and her skin was as smooth and delicate as a newborn baby's. A pinch of her cheeks was enough to squeeze water out of them. The moment the door was opened, a barking sound came from inside. Woof woof, woof woof woof. Following that, a snow-white little dog came out of Yun Jian's room, wagging its tail. From its expression, it seemed to be very impatient. There was a trace of red on the snow-white puppy's forehead. It was obvious that this dog was the culprit behind all the banging on the door. At least that was what Luo Jejun thought. Luo Jejun's expression froze and he was startled. His expression did not look good. What's the matter? Yun Jian was holding a towel and was wiping her wet black hair. This was the first time Luo Jejun and Wei Min saw Yun Jian with her ponytail scattered over her shoulders. Yun Jian with her hair scattered over her shoulders gave people a different kind of beauty. Especially after taking a bath, Yun Jian's skin was even smoother and more delicate. Her fair face coupled with her sharp eyes. At this moment, Luo Jejun felt as if he was looking at a fairy who had accidentally fallen into the mortal world. Even Luo Jejun himself did not realize that his gaze was fixated on Yun Jian, as if he was a pervert. Brother Jejun, did you just think that something had happened to Lin Er? Look at Lin Er, isn't she fine? Lin Er must be tired and wants to sleep early. I think we shouldn't disturb her sleep. Let's go. Seeing how Luo Jejun's eyes were glued to Yun Jian like magnets, Wei Min's womanly jealousy exploded. She tugged at Luo Jejun's arm in an attempt to pull him away. In the future, don't randomly open my door. Unless you're tired of living, I can be merciful and send you on your way. Right after Wei Min said that, Yun Jian spoke up with a cold expression. After she finished speaking, she didn't give Wei Min, Luo Jejun, and Luo Lanlan a chance to react. She stretched out her slender and beautiful hand and closed the door. After Yun Jian closed the door, Luo Jejun was still unable to react to Yun Jian's beauty for a long time. He was stunned for a while before he was led away by Wei Min. What are you talking about? You're acting like a rich young lady, and you're not letting me open the door? Wasn't she just someone who was found after being separated for 10 years? Hadn't she tasted the bitterness of the past? How could she throw a tantrum so quickly? Deske, how shameless. After Luo Lanlan heard what Yun Jian said, she was subconsciously implanted with negative thoughts about Yun Jian because Wei Min had pulled her aside to badmouth Yun Jian just now. Therefore, Luo Lanlan's first thought after listening to Yun Jian was to mock Yun Jian. Luo Jejun, Wei Min, and Luo Lanlan finally went downstairs. In the bedroom. Just as Yun Jian closed the door, Ce, who was standing in the bathroom beside the bedroom, hugged Yun Jian from behind. Since Yun Jian was wearing a long top, it covered her thighs. She wore nothing underneath her long legs. Xiao Jian, you're mine. Ce said nothing else. After he hugged Yun Jian, one of his hands slid under Yun Jian's top. Translator, Henyi Translations Editor, Henyi Translations. Chapter 2334. Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation, page 1/1. The night was long. In the Wei family's living room, guests from all walks of life were celebrating. Upstairs, in Yun Jian's room, it was a romantic scene. Ce stayed in Yun Jian's room for the night before leaving. He was supposed to return to the God's continent, but before he left the Inhun organization, he came here to look for Yun Jian because he missed her. Ce had a lot of things to do today, so he shouldn't have come to Puyo City to look for Yun Jian. However, he hadn't seen Yun Jian for a few days. His thoughts overshadowed his rationality, so Ce took the time to look for Yun Jian. He also did it with the woman he loved while he was at it. As for Luo Jiejun, Ce didn't even ask Yun Jian about it. That was because Ce trusted Yun Jian from the bottom of his heart. Without love, there was no need for a heart-to-heart talk. Both parties could tell with just a glance that the other party was even more intimate. 3 days had passed since the Wei family's small dinner party. 3 days later, Luo Zhechen had a new discovery. Hey, Wei Lin, let me tell you, I've got new information. Didn't something happen at the construction site and then it was sealed off by the police? But 15 days later, the police invited experts to the construction site to investigate the case. With my ability, it's not impossible to bring people in to take a look. That's because the professional is my dad's friend. How about it, do you want to take a look? Luo Zhechen had been trying his best to please Yun Jian these days. He couldn't wait to tell Yun Jian all the information he had. That was because Luo Zhechen's phone had been breaking down more and more recently. Initially, it would break down once every 2 days, but recently, it had been breaking down twice or thrice a day. It wasn't that Yun Jian didn't fix it well, but that Luo Zhechen had gone overboard. Hearing Luo Zhechen's words, Yun Jian's eyes moved. She nodded and said, "Your phone broke down again? Ah, Wei Lin, you're too amazing. How did you find out that my phone was broken again? Don't tell me you have the ability to predict the future." Hearing Yun Jian's words, Luo Zhechen was stunned for a moment before he spoke. "My phone is broken. The more you investigate this matter for me, the more diligent you are." Yun Jian pointed out Luo Zhechen's secret in one sentence. Hearing this, Luo Zhechen pursed his lips. It seemed that he was indeed like that. Monday Rally. Imperial College, Big Field. The principal of the Imperial College solemnly announced on the rostrum that the male students of the Imperial College would have a fencing competition 3 days later. The fencing competition was a unique event of the Imperial College. The fencing competition will be held in front of all the teachers and students. And this fencing competition was a competition that had been passed down since the founding of the Imperial College in the last century. The students studying in the Imperial College were not like other schools. Most of the students here were from rich families, so the college would have many activities like fencing competitions, which would be held in front of all the teachers and students. This year's fencing competition will officially begin 3 days later. If there are any male students who would like to sign up for the fencing competition, please go to the registration office to sign up. The rewards for this year's fencing competition are rich. One of the rewards is that if you win the first place, second place and third place in the fencing competition, I will allow you to go to the forbidden area of our Imperial College. At the same time, there will be many other rewards, so I hope that everyone will sign up enthusiastically, so that our school's unique fencing competition can be passed down and carried forward. Top reading website, M. Chapter 2336. The fencing competition was the symbol of the Imperial College. It was also the legacy of the Imperial College's founder, John, who brought it from Country Y in the last century. The first person who founded the Imperial College, John, was an aristocrat in Country Y. During John's era, the leader of Country Y was the Queen, a woman. Therefore, the status of women in Country Y was not low. When John first came to Country Z to build the Imperial College, he advocated equality between men and women. Therefore, girls could participate in the fencing competition with boys and would not be mocked. At that time, the girls were also very brave. Indeed, there were many champions, runners-up and third-place finishers in the annual fencing competition. But today, the girls were afraid of leaving a bad impression in front of the boys, so no one signed up for the fencing competition. Part of the reason was that they were afraid of being mocked. The fencing competition also changed from a heroic battle of the past to something that the boys could show off in front of the girls. Back to the main topic, the most recent time that a girl from the Imperial College won the championship was 50 years ago. For 50 years, no girl from the Imperial College could break the record of winning the championship again. It was not that no girl had ever participated in the competition. Take last year's annual fencing competition as an example, there were a few courageous girls who signed up for it. Not to mention breaking the record that no girl had won the championship again in 50 years, it was quite difficult to even get into the top 100 contestants. And the person who won the championship for 3 consecutive years was Luo Jiejun. Who was Luo Jiejun? He was the eldest son of the Luo group, the future successor. His studies, appearance and strength were on par. He had participated in the fencing competition for 3 years and had never lost. Therefore when Yun Jian said this, everyone was dumbfounded. You said you want to win the championship of this year's fencing competition? Do you know what you are saying? Let's not talk about whether you have learned fencing or not. Our Master Jun has won the championship for 3 years. Master Jun is not only proficient in fencing, but also in fighting. Master Jun once stopped a group of 30 people from fighting. He beat the 30 people up so badly that they did not dare to disobey him. What about you? What qualifications do you have to compete with our Master Jun? Moreover, there are so many outstanding talents in our college. You're just a new transfer student. After hearing Yun Jian's words, the girl who was grooming herself in front of the mirror couldn't help but stand up and refute Yun Jian loudly. Exactly. Young Master Jun is handsome, his conduct is good, and his family background is even better. Who do you think you are? Did she think that she could surpass young Master Jun in terms of strength just because she had gotten close to young Master Chin? Or do you think that you're amazing just because young Master Jun pays a little attention to you? Let me tell you, young Master Jun is just playing with you because you're new to him. Who knows, he might get sick of you in 2 days. As soon as Yun Jian arrived, she immediately attracted the attention of the 2 most handsome men in the academy. The girls had long had opinions about Yun Jian. Now that she had the opportunity, she really thought that she had grasped Yun Jian's weakness and began to fight back with fierce words. What right did she have to attract the attention of the 2 most handsome men in their college? She was the youngest daughter of the Wei family who had just been found after being separated from the Wei family for 10 years. Yun Jian was talking about the fencing competition, but the girls in the class kept on talking about other things. Yun Jian sneered and couldn't be bothered with them anymore. She put her hands in her trouser pockets and walked out of the classroom, ignoring the group of girls who kept on talking behind her. Enough. All of you shut up. If you keep on talking, I'll sell you to the women's brothel. Luo Jiachen shouted when he heard the girls' discussion. Reality proved that the Luo family's little tyrant, Luo Jiachen, still had his dignity. The group of girls trembled in fear when they heard Luo Jiachen shout. They immediately swallowed their saliva and didn't dare to make a sound. Luo Jiachen glared at the group of girls again, then chased after Yun Jian. At the registration area of the college's fencing department, a good-looking boy was sitting at a desk at the registration area, registering the students who had signed up for the fencing competition. This good-looking boy had his head lowered. He didn't raise his head after registering a few students' names. He only wrote down the name and class. Name, class, the boy said after he finished registering. The next student who had signed up for the fencing competition immediately spoke up. Wei Lin, Year 1, Class 1. The boy's face froze when he heard this beautiful female voice. A female voice? A girl had signed up for the fencing competition? The boy suddenly raised his head and looked at the person who had signed up. When he saw that person, a look of surprise and astonishment flashed across his face. Please remember the domain name of this book, .com. Wonderful book mobile version website, .com. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.